This is Mickey Quinn, the official announcer of today's Two Mics podcast.
A very good morning to you. We are the Two Mics. Mr. Mike Porky Parry has joined me in the studio, I'm delighted to say, and a very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike.
You're looking very healthy, if I may say so.
Really?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
I don't know, I just noticed this week, on Monday and today, you just look as if you've got sort of a sheen to your skin, you look as if you've got a bit of a pink colour going through you. I mean,
that's what most people should look like. I'm doing all the walking, of course, down on the North Downs, the South Downs, keeping the old ticker in shape. Moderate.
Spotted any rogue sheep?
There's loads of sheep around.
A lot of interest in the sheep
Loads
story.
of sheep around, and I met a few shepherds this week. I'll tell you about that a bit later. Got to keep the old ticker in shape. Minimum amounts of alcohol and a well-balanced diet is what it's all about.
Of course.
Now, we will talk about the football within the next 3 hours, Mike. Obviously, some of the headlines in the first editions of the papers don't augur well for Greg Dyke. Dyke's own goal, for instance, on the front of the Telegraph. But we'll come to that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what you've just heard is an issue which is very close to my heart. It's the Eurovision Song Contest on Saturday. A beautiful young lady called Molly Smitten-Downs is singing our song this year, Children of the Universe.
She's a complete unknown, isn't she?
Yeah, complete unknown. But
like
then
a Rolling Stone.
But then again, let me tell you this. I'll tell you the name of another complete unknown when she sung in the Eurovision Song Contest, Celine Dion. Right?
Really? When did she sing in it then?
Well, I don't know, but she did. She definitely sung in it.
I thought she was Canadian.
No. She competed in it. She was completely unknown, and she's not now.
Oh.
ABBA were completely unknown when they competed in the Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah. Julie Iglesias, son
you
of...
mean Julio?
Julio, is that Julio?
Julio as well as Enrique
Julio.
Iglesias. Julio is the guy that you would have known for All the Girls I've Loved Before.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But his son is Enrique.
Enrique, that's right. Anyway, what I'm saying is it's not just unknowns who compete in this, it is sometimes megastars as well. Cliff Richard wasn't unknown when he competed twice.
And neither was Sandy Shaw.
Neither was Sandy Shaw. Like a puppet on a string, ing. And
also, was it last year where we had Bonnie Tyler? Was that the year before?
Bonnie Tyler, beautiful woman that. She had a fantastic song called I Was Lost in France.
Yeah.
I was lost.
This is not going to turn into you just singing a load
France.
of songs. In France?
Yeah.
Super. I was lost in France.
In the trees, the birds were singing. Now, Cliff Richard, of course.
She bombed, of course. I mean, that's the problem with the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, but she was about 60 when she started singing in the
Well, you're
Eurovision
far
Song
off
Contest.
60. I wouldn't be too harsh on
No. What I'm saying is it's usually a younger person who wins. Although, actually, I've been doing my facts and figures on this. You won't believe it. The oldest competitor was a guy from Switzerland who was 95. 95-year-old Emil Ramor, who competed in 2013. And before that, Engelbert Humperdinck competed for us in Switzerland when he was 78. So that's not bad, is it?
I mean, who comes up with this stuff? I mean, who decides? I mean, this girl, for example, Molly Smitten-Downs, was working part-time in a shop to fund her music career.
I know. Isn't it great?
But after being spotted on the BBC introducing website, she was suddenly picked. I mean, who makes this decision?
Well, they have a sort of committee, don't they, who look at all the entrants. For instance, let me tell you this. In 1969, a fella come along and said, I've got a great tune. They gave him a piano. He knocked out this song, and he was told it's rubbish, and go away and learn your craft and come back later. Name of Elton John, of course.
Was he Reg Dwight in those days?
Yeah, he probably was Reg Dwight. And the song that beat him in the qualifying competition was I wanna boom bang a bang, there in
Lulu.
my heart, boom bang a bang. That's
sure
right.
That right. That was Lulu, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Lulu. Of course, the greatest Eurovision song ever was, go on, you tell me.
The greatest Eurovision song ever.
Ever?
Well, it's probably ABBA's, wasn't it?
Of course it was, Waterloo.
Yeah.
My.
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and listen to you singing. Let's hear the real version of it.
Here we go.
And you can sing along to it.
Waterloo. Evermore.
Is that it? Is that as good as you can do? You know the words?
Waterloo. Of course I know the words, but it caught me out because
anyway, listen, this is
we
all
went
fine
halfway through the record.
All fine and dandy.
I know the opening words. It's my at Waterloo. Napoleon did surrender. Now, let me tell you a story about this, right? What happened was, when they won that, the French got so upset, they wrote to the British government, demanded that Waterloo Station in London be renamed.
Why?
Because it had become a symbol of oppression against the French following ABBA's Waterloo in Europe.
But they didn't have the battle at Waterloo Station, did they?
No, of course they didn't have the battle at Waterloo Station. The battle was at Waterloo in Belgium.
Right.
But because it was Great Victory, we named one of our great London railway stations.
So they hadn't named Waterloo Station Waterloo before the battle, had they?
There weren't any trains around, Mike, when Waterloo, the battle was taking place.
Right.
It's because it started... I mean, what an idiot you are.
Well, no, you just not explaining
Did you
it very
honestly think that there were trains running up and down, in 18...
Well, I've no idea.
Waterloo was 1815.
1815?
No, 1815. I mean, there were trains, but there weren't these great mega stations in
I bet
London.
you could get from London to Glasgow quicker on a train. In fact, I did a thing when I was working up in Edinburgh, and we were talking about
in Edinburgh. I thought you worked in Glasgow.
I worked in Edinburgh and Glasgow.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you're going to keep up. I've worked in many places, as you know.
Oh, I know, because you keep getting fired.
It actually turned out we found an old newspaper basically that said that they used to deliver mail by horseback.
Right.
And the guy would ride a horse from Edinburgh to London, and he actually got there quicker.
Honey, if you're lonely, give it to the Pony Express.
For God's sake, would you stop with the singing? Look, let's stop singing for 5 minutes,
okay,
all right?
Yeah, go on.
The guy on the horse actually got the post to London in something like 1912 quicker than it does now.
Oh, rubbish.
It's
on a
not
horse.
true. Yeah.
From where to where?
From Edinburgh to London.
But you need about 8 horses. You have to change horses at every staging post.
Yeah, of course. It was a staging post,
That's rubbish. Maximum speed a horse can do is about 15 or 16 miles an hour.
But
the train does 80 or 90 miles an hour.
Have you ever tried posting a letter from Edinburgh to London and not saying, I want it first class, next day delivery, which is now about £6.50?
I bet you didn't know.
You just put a first class stamp on it. It takes about 3 days.
But you didn't know that in the penny black days, right, you could post a letter across London in the morning and get a letter back, a reply by that evening.
Well, it was probably because the guy was on a horse.
All through the Royal Mail Service, But no, I love the old Eurovision Song Contest. We are the second most successful winners of all time. 5 times we've won it. Mind you, we've finished bottom about the same number of times. But Ireland are the most successful, and the most successful country, including 2 appearances by Jedward, who were my singing partners.
Dana was the one. Well, they were mine as well. I was here as well. Have you forgotten that?
Oh, I had actually, yeah, I had.
Yeah, we wore the Jedward wigs.
Oh, we do all the Jedward wigs, that's right, of course we did, yeah.
It was the first and only time there's been a crowd of screaming teenage girls outside.
Yeah.
And we had to go out the back doors, remember?
All waiting for me. We've come second 15 times. Yeah,
you did it again, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry.
You completely ignored the fact that I was here. I mean, I've never met somebody more self-absorbed than you in my entire life. It's absolutely staggering.
Not self-absorbed. What about this?
You've just told me that you remember having Jedward here.
Yes, I do.
Right, but you don't remember the fact that I was in the same room as you.
Well, I've worked with a lot of people over the years, Mike. Alan Brazil.
You might be working with a few more the way things are going.
Andy Townsend.
Andy, what's his name?
Andy Townsend, the nose. And, of course, I sometimes forget who I was with when we met all these celebrities.
Because you're self-absorbed.
We've got a great new... jingle, a great new trail that Peter G, our head of creatives, put together about Ray Parlour being on the breakfast show tomorrow, right? Yes. And he's based it on the famous opening song to Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we've been hearing it tonight.
Yeah, called Ghostbusters. Right, I did it with old Ray Parker Jr.
Of course you did.
I did Ghostbusters with Ray Parker Jr.
There's another story about
Who are you going to call?
Yeah.
Ghostbusters!
Ray Parker talks about it all the time. Whenever anybody interviews him, he says the one thing I remember about my life in music is doing a duet with Porky Parry in the TalkSport studio.
It was in this very studio, Mike. I was sitting here, he was sitting there. We got up, we raised this microphone here, and then the music came on sort of karaoke style without any words.
Why are you telling me this?
Because
I have heard it.
No, I thought
I don't want to be talked through it.
Yeah, but our millions of listeners like to know. Okay, they do like to know.
They've already heard it as well.
They do like to know. Now, listen, what I was going to tell you about the Eurovision Song Contest is this. This is such a powerful event in Europe. It's actually caused revolutions, okay? Because, yes, it did. What happened was, when the Portuguese entry went in, it was called Carnation Revolution. It prompted a rebellion in Portugal. No, this is quite a few years ago. Right. And it ended up with the overthrow of the fascist dictatorship that was ruling the country. Yeah. Blimey. It must have been before 2006.
What about
2004, because I did the European Championships in Portugal in 2004, and there was no revolution going on then, believe me.
They also didn't have a dictatorship, did they?
No, they didn't have a dictatorship.
So it must have been a while ago. What about this Austrian entry this year, Conchita Wurst?
What about it?
She's a bearded lady.
Oh, dear, that's terrible. I can't stand that. I saw a picture of her outside. Well, I mean, the idea of a lady with a beard, it just revolts me.
Well, you like beards, don't you?
Well, not on ladies, I certainly don't. I think it's horrible, I don't... By the way, do you know the expression null point?
Null point, I do.
Has never been used.
Hasn't it?
It's never been used in the Eurovision Song Contest. It came up as some newspaper headline in Europe and people picked it up on it. Absolutely sure.
I don't think you're right about that.
No, I'm absolutely right.
Because, I mean, in days when I used to watch it, which was basically when I was a child, because it's a very childish programme and nobody really takes it seriously anymore.
Yeah, that's
apart
true.
from you. You know, I'm sure I heard people say nil point from Denmark to England or something like that.
No, you've never heard it. It's either pas de point.
Really?
Pas de points, pas de points, or 0 points, or 0 point, 0 point. Okay, Norway scored.
I don't think you're right.
I am absolutely right.
You're completely wrong about.
All right, you show me a bit of audio then that's got somebody at the Eurovision contest saying null point.
We might have to find it.
Norway scored the most nulls. They've got 4.
Yeah.
And came last 11 times. Okay, Portuguese are the longest running losers. Since their debut in 1964, they've never made even the top 5. Now, you just said something interesting. You said it's aimed towards, like, childish-type lyrics, OK? Right, here we go. The Eurovision cliché is that for universal appeal, songs have to have inane and childish lyrics. Sweden's Diggy-Loo, Diggy-Lay. Love that. Holland's Ding-a-Dong. Spain's La La La.
Well,
and of
boom,
course,
bang, a bang. I'm going to rest my case.
I was about to say, and our own Boom, Bang, a Bang. Shortest title was Si. That was from Spain in 1974, and the longest was Man gewollt sich so schnell an das Schöne. And that was West Germany in 1974, which means you get used to something beautiful very quickly.
Yeah, that's true. Well, how about these guys, Twin, who are the French entry this year, just as if to prove that, you know, it's not very significant, any of this stuff, right? Apparently their song is called The Moustache. And it's called an exceptionally catchy dance track, tells the story of a man who already has everything in life, but who still wants a moustache.
Really?
There's something very odd about the European sense of humour, isn't there?
Well, they haven't got a sense of humour. That's what I find about the Europeans. This is why. This is why.
Generalisation.
No. This is why I would prefer Britain to be the 51st state of the United States of America, because we've got a lot more in common with them. It's only the Atlantic Ocean which separates us, rather than be, you know, a country attached to Europe, which is only 18 miles away.
Have you seen the time, by the way?
What about it?
Well, have you looked at the time? We've got to go.
Have we?
He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. More coming up next.
Congratulations and celebrations when I tell everyone that you're in love with me.
Congratulations and celebrations. I want the world to know that I'm in love. Cliff's had a sing with me.
Cliff's had a sing with you.
Cliff's had a sing with me.
It's unbelievable. It's all about you.
Yeah,
Listen, I've had enough of the Eurovision Song Contest, to be honest, because, I mean, it's all very well. I'm much more interested in the fact that Tommy Lee has joined the Smashing Pumpkins. What do you think about that?
Tommy Lee's what?
Tommy Lee's joined the Smashing Pumpkins.
Is Tommy Lee that actor from the Men in Black?
No, he's not. No, that's Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, OK.
Tommy Lee is the guy who used to be the drummer in Motley Crue, who used to be Pamela Anderson's boyfriend.
And he's got tattoos from his knuckles up to his armpits and all that kind of stuff.
And elsewhere.
Looks like a revolting piece of human... what's it called? Detritus, that's right, yeah.
Well, he happens to be a great drummer.
Is he a great drummer?
And he's now joined the Smashing Pumpkins, who are a great band from Chicago.
Smashing Pumpkins? Never heard of them.
I know, I'm sure you wouldn't have heard of them. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sure that there are some people out there who've never heard of Cliff Richard as well.
Oh, rubbish. Cliff Richard's a legend.
Well, he might be a legend, but nobody really wants to...
Our producer, Dave Levine, just told me a story about Cliff Richard.
Did he?
He said that about 30 years ago, his mother was in a car somewhere north of London, which broke down.
Yeah.
And a very helpful, you know, sort of good Samaritan pulled in front of the car, stopped and said, "Are you all right?" And she said, "No, you know, I've got to get to a garage." And this was before mobile phones, you know, and I've got to ring my husband and all that. He said, "Get in." And this person drove Dave's mother to the garage, said, "Thank you very much for dropping off," and then he drove off. And then the guy in the garage said, "Did you get his autograph?" And she said, "What are you on about?" She said, "That was Cliff Richard."
Oh, really?
Cliff Richard just picked you up.
That's one of those everyday mother stories, isn't it? Yeah, your mother just wouldn't recognise Cliff Richard. Now, we've got lots to talk about on the show.
We certainly have, so we should get on with it.
We should get on with it, because on Monday we did the podcast, of course, that was out there on iTunes. There will be a podcast of this one coming out later on today as well. But there was a great deal of interest in your claim that there was all these sheep disappearing.
That's right.
From the countryside.
That's right.
And
widely greeted, that podcast. Widely greeted. I've had people stopping me in the street ever since talking to me about it.
Yeah.
Because, of course, I come from rural areas. I have to drive through Hampshire.
You come from Surrey.
Also,
that rural.
when I go down to the other retreat, I have to drive through Hampshire, which is rolling hills full of sheep, and I talk to
full of
shepherds.
sheep, is it? You were telling me that there were no sheep there.
Well, what sheep are left?
You were telling me there were no sheep.
What sheep are left? There are a few still in Hampshire, believe me.
Right. Well, anyway, the point is that one of the things that I'd said was I was being rather derisory about the word shepherd, because it's just one of those words that makes me laugh. I can't help it. But you've actually met shepherds this week who've come up to you and talked to you.
While shepherds tend their flocks by night,
Please stop singing.
all seated on... Well, it's a sing-along type show, Mike, because we're talking about the Eurovision Song
It's not a sing-along
Contest.
type show at all.
Anyway,
Did you get that idea?
Well, you know, it is.
It's not a sing-along type show.
No, the point is that being a shepherd is such a noble profession, and I still like...
So where do you meet these shepherds, then?
Well, you
Shepherd's
don't
Bush?
necessarily meet them, but I mean, I do like watching back editions of Shepherd's Bush. I like
You've
that.
only just got
That's
that,
very
haven't
funny. I just filtered into my head. I don't usually listen to what you're saying.
That's what I mean.
That just sort of
You
hit
are
the back
so unbelievably selfish.
hit the back of my
Incredible.
brain. No, I like watching back editions of All Creatures Great and Small. And they're
Back
all...
editions?
Well, what do you call it? Back programmes.
Episodes.
Back episodes, that's it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And there are loads of shepherds in that.
Yeah.
So you see shepherds of the old school, because this is from the sort of 1920s, 1930s and all that kind of stuff. And you realise what a noble profession it was, you know what I mean? And then you translate it to what the shepherds have to do today.
Yeah.
And I have been talking to shepherds, he's absolutely right, and they did appreciate my support for them the other night.
Did they give you any clue as to where all these sheep have gone?
Well, what they're basically saying, this is what I said, is that there's no shepherds, you can't have sheep. And if you can't have sheep, you know, shepherd farms closed down.
I had a couple of messages on social media from people spotting the missing sheep. Some said that they'd seen some getting on a ferry at Calais, as you suggested they might have been doing.
Yeah,
some said they were saw some getting on a plane at Gatwick, bound for Auckland, New Zealand.
I don't know. Can't you take this seriously? This is a very serious problem.
But the other
it's a big industry. But hang on, what I was going to say was the shepherds I have seen this week said that, you know, thank you very much for your support and all that. Do you realise that most shepherding is now done not with dogs but by us on 4x4 vehicles?
Oh yeah,
like quad bikes. That's right, to round the sheep up. And
well, what's wrong with the sheepdog? Why don't they use those anymore?
Well, because like sheepdogs are going out of fashion. You've got to feed them. You've got to train them, and it's much easier just to get on a quad bike and drive around and corral the sheep up and get them to move.
Well, in Australia they do it by helicopter, don't they?
What do you mean?
They corral the sheep by helicopter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. Have you not seen it?
That would terrify sheep, that would.
Well, it certainly makes them move in the right direction. But
Well,
the point
if
is,
you can get it right.
because they've got to cover such a vast area,
Right.
a quad bike would actually run out of petrol. So, I mean, a
Yeah,
dog
I
couldn't
suppose
do it.
you're right.
So they've got these, you know, this probably millions of acres of land. And so they have to actually, you know, make sure the sheep are all in the same
I
spot.
don't think millions of acres, Mike. That's a bit of an exaggeration.
Why?
Millions of acres of
Why
land.
not? Well, how big do you think Australia is in acreage?
That'd be 200 or 300 miles, millions of acres.
That's how big the farms are in Australia.
Oh, rubbish. Well, that's the distance from Liverpool to London, you
Yeah.
fool.
Yeah, well-
that means you've got a farm as big as Britain. Are you mad?
Yeah, they probably have in Australia.
A load of nonsense. Here are South Fork, right? The farm of the Ewing family.
Yeah, the fictional farm. It's not really a farm, is it?
Well, the ranch of the Ewing family. J.R. Ewing, of course, a man whose principles I follow and adhere to strictly in
that.
life. South Fork was 100,000 acres.
Yeah.
Now, that was one of the biggest ranches in Texas.
Right.
Well,
in Australia, they're bigger.
Well, you say so, yeah, but I mean, that's, you know...
Well...
that takes...
Why have you got some toothpaste on the desk, by the way?
Well, it's not toothpaste. I was going to show you this, actually.
This is toothpaste. It's called Aquafresh.
Now, don't you think that looks a bit outdated, that toothpaste
Yeah,
box?
I'm not an expert in packaging, but it looks a bit sort of... don't drop it. It looks a bit... well, have you got something else in the box, then? Is it not actually toothpaste?
No, it's toothpaste. But look, I was going to tell you, this is quite interesting, and I thought this is a good example of human nature. Right. I lost my Rolex this week, okay? My Rolex watch, yeah. And
how did you manage that?
I don't know, but I got a bit...
It wasn't when you were with the shepherds, was it?
No, I wasn't with the shepherds. What
You
happened?
might have half-inched it.
No, not at all. Now, sometimes, of course, people go into, like if you're in a hotel or something like that, this is a problem that women have all the time. They go into a hotel bathroom, they're washing their hands, they take their wedding rings off, they leave them on the sink,
Some
they
of them
walk
take
out.
the wedding rings off before they get in the room.
Well, sometimes they do, if they see me in there and they want to make an impression and that sort of thing, you know what I mean? You'd know all about that, of course. But, no, what I'm saying is, so my sister, because I rang her up and said, did I leave it at your house? No. She said, oh, you've taken it off, haven't you, in a bathroom in a hotel somewhere? I said, no, I never take it off and all that kind of... Because actually...
Is it waterproof, then?
Well, it's waterproof, but when you wash your hands, water does get under the gold band, you see what I mean? So I have, on occasions, loosened the band and then, you know, wipe my hand with a towel.
Is
and
it one of those ones that sort of clasps?
It's clips, yeah, that's right, a clasp, yeah. But anyway...
Not elasticated.
No, anyway, point of the story is... So I'm searching high and low for it, and eventually I found my Rolex watch in the left-hand pocket of an overcoat, which I'd only worn once in the winter. And then
what was it doing in there?
I don't know. And then put it away. Well, I know what happens. I'll tell you what happens.
What, you only wore the coat once?
Yes.
And when was the last time you wore it?
In November.
So you haven't had your watch since November?
No, I don't wear it very often, to be honest.
Well, obviously not.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to look for it now?
Well, only that I wanted to wear it this week, and so I went to the box it's normally in one of my wardrobes, and I opened the magic box.
How many wardrobes have you got?
Quite a few.
Well, why do you need so many wardrobes?
A lot of
you
clothes.
always wear the same clothes.
No.
You always wear, every time I see you, you're wearing the same clothes.
No, I don't, Mike. All my clothes look the same because I've got a lot of blue and white striped shirts,
Right.
a lot of blue trousers.
So you just buy the same thing?
Yeah, my colour is blue. But anyway, look, you wanted the answer to the toothpaste, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I eventually
I'm
found...
a bit more fascinated by the watch now, but carry on with the toothpaste.
Well, it's all linked to the same thing.
Right.
So
Was that in the same pocket?
No, it wasn't, no. So I found the Rolex and I was quite happy. But in the course of trying to find the Rolex, I had to make a whole apartment search through everything. So, and it's insured, but I didn't want to ring up the insurance company in case they thought I was trying to...
the toothpaste is insured.
No, the Rolex. So anyway... I go into the bathroom. I've got
Can you hurry it up a bit,
Yes,
please?
yes. I've got two bathrooms at home. One is a shower room. That's all it's got. Is a shower and a loo and a basin and loads of hot towel rails and all that kind of stuff. And and to keep the towels hot. And what are you laughing at?
Well, how many do you need?
Well,
one towel rail most people have.
No, if you get out the shower, you need a couple of hot towels. It makes you feel like your mum's wrapping a hot towel around you.
Look at the time again. Look, you're only halfway through the story.
All right. Anyway,
no, we're going to have to wait now. We're going to have to wait and tell the story afterwards because it's getting late. You've forgotten that there's a time. You're out of sync again.
Well, she's out of sync with me. You know this is.
It's become Miss Dana, isn't it?
It's Dana. I was going to say Lilana.
I just said Dana.
It's Dana.
No, Lilana plays for Southampton.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's got
Dana
Liverpool, isn't he?
is
according
the
to
Irish
headline.
singer who later became... Did she not become President of Ireland or something?
No, she became a Taoiseach type person, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
a
she
TD.
became like a senator or something like that.
Yeah, an MP or TD or something like that. But she was only 17 when she entered it and didn't expect to win it and then became like an international superstar, didn't she? Bit like Mary Hopkins, really.
International superstar Dana. Anyway, let's carry on with this. Can we quickly finish this story?
Okay. Anyway,
without taking more than like 15 minutes.
Point of the story is you have to search high and low to find the Rolex because it's quite valuable, you see. So anyway, I go
Somebody sent a text in saying, I don't know why Porky's so worried about his watch. You can get those 10 quid genuine imitation Rolexes in most markets.
Well, we used to buy them on street corners in New York, didn't we?
From Ghanaian men.
And do you know what? I bought one once and it was what's that one with the green and red stripe within the face?
Gucci.
Gucci, that's right. And of course, it stopped working after about 3 weeks.
I had some of those that lasted me for years, but you'd always tell they weren't real Rolexes because they ticked.
That's
the sweeping arm. And
well, I think it might have been a Rolex or it might have been a Gucci one. But anyway, it stopped working, and I thought, so I just took it into like a jeweller's. But I didn't take it into a Bond Street jeweller or anything like that.
Because they'd have you arrested.
No, seriously. So some jewellers in downtown Croydon or something like that. And I said, look, I want me to watch this. And they looked at it, and the guy said, well, we're not dealing with that. This is trash. You're putting us out of business. You went absolutely mad.
Yeah, well, they
dare
do.
You?
They don't like the fake
dare
watches.
You bring this paste rubbish into my shop? And it was only like H.S. Samuel or something.
Right.
Well, sorry, I'm not being rude. I'm not sure what jewellers it was. Probably wasn't H.S. Samuel.
Just
sorry about that,
it was
guys.
Ratner's.
Yeah, well, I don't know where it was, but I mean,
the
the cost of their most expensive watch in the window was £24.50, and we probably paid $10 for this on the street corner in New York. Anyway, point is, so in the search for the Rolex, I go into my other bathroom, which is a bathroom because it's got a big bath in the middle.
Handy.
Big circular bath, right? And hot rails, obviously. And,
more hot towel rails.
Yeah, more hot towel rails. And that's got a cushion floor, whereas the other one's got a carpet floor, you know what I mean? So it is different. But anyway, I look at this this bathroom cabinet, which is above the bath, and I thought, no, I don't remember putting anything in there for a while. But sometimes, you see, when I've got my Rolex on, it means I've been to a late do, like a dinner or something like that, dinner suit and all that kind of stuff. And so there is a chance I may be inebriated on a return to my flat.
Highly unlikely.
Right, so what happens is I thought, perhaps I did something clever. Perhaps I put my Rolex in the bathroom cabinet to try and keep it safe till the morning when I'd put it away in the magic box, So I opened the cabinet.
Your life is so weird. I can't even begin to describe it.
Anyway, can't find the Rolex, but I, came across this Aquafresh, and I thought, oh, that's funny. Toothpaste. Need some of that in the other bathroom. I'll take this one. So anyway, I take it in, but before I open it, I look at the end here, and guess what it says? Used before, 27th. 0607. So this is 7 years old.
Well, minimum. Because it probably that means you probably
listen.
bought it 2 years before. You probably bought it in 2005.
I probably did. So it's about 9 years old. So anyway, look, I'm opening it now, pulling it out.
Why don't you try and clean your teeth with it while I talk to Jeff Peters?
Well, I'm not going to, because my teeth might fall out. You don't know what happens to this. There could be all sorts of things inside.
If don't open it in the studio, it might explode.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, you put this on your teeth now, it might, literally take all the... What's the stuff on the front of your teeth? Enamel. Yeah. Might take all the enamel off your teeth, or my teeth might drop out. So I'm not risking it. But however, Mike, if you want to take it home... And,
why would I want to take your old toothpaste?
I don't like to throw it away, and I thought, well, can I find a home for it? And your need is greater than mine, so if you want it, it's yours.
Why don't you give it to Alan Brazil in the morning?
Why would I give it to Alan Brazil?
Well, I have no idea. Well, let's talk to Jeff Peters now, because he's been waiting very patiently. Jeff, a very good morning to you.
That was a crazy last 35 minutes. Can I have half a pint of whatever Barry's been drinking?
I don't know why he wants to think. I wonder why he would think that I would want his old Aquafresh toothpaste.
Why not? Has Aquafresh reached Leicester yet, Jeff?
Yes, it has. I love the story about Tommy Lee, by the way.
Yeah.
It was in Motley Crue, wasn't he? So he's joined a new band.
He's joined the Smashing Pumpkins.
Well, he used to be married to Pamela Anderson.
He did,
every morning he woke up, he probably looked at her and went, there's a pair of Smashing Pumpkins.
No, I'm sure. I can't believe I gave you enough time to come up with that. Now listen. Let's talk about
with
the
apologies.
playoffs.
Well, apologies to Frank Skinner, who originally told that joke, and it was much funnier when he did it. But anyway, let's move on.
No, very good. Now the playoffs are underway. People are already talking at TalkSport about how terrible it's going to be next week when there's no football on. But there's more tonight. QPR against Wigan. What was the game like tonight, Brighton Derby?
Well, there's playoffs throughout. The end of this week, across the weekend and next week as well. First one of the lot played last night. Brighton starting very well against Derby, taking the lead through Jesse Lingard, but Derby hit back through a Chris Martin penalty. Terrible challenge from Matthew Upson. He didn't need to make it, nailed on penalty. And then a bit of fortune, really. Martin's shot hit the bar and then hit the goalkeeper, Kuszak, and went in for an own goal. Derby keeper made some very, very good saves. It was a terrific game to watch, and it's really set up nicely for the second leg. Derby have beaten Brighton 3 times now this season, so it's going to be a bit of an uphill task for Brighton, but their away form's not bad. Then again, Derby are quite good at home. So the playoffs have got off to a really good start with a decent game of football.
And it's the away goals don't count in this competition, do they?
No, they used to, but not anymore, which were certainly to my chagrin a few years ago when Leicester played against Cardiff and they won 3-2 in the away leg, and it ended up going to penalties and we ended up messing it up. But no, there used to be away goals, but not now.
Now, Jeff, QPR Wigan, right? Now, what is interesting about this, you probably haven't seen tomorrow morning's papers yet, but we've got a set here in the studio. Harry's given a great interview. Apparently, pre-season, QPR played Peterborough in a pre-season friendly, and they lost that. And on the way back, he actually said to his chairman, don't start thinking about promotion this season, chairman. I'm going to be lucky to keep this team in the Championship. They're so bad. Really? Because he'd been saddled with a load of players from the previous regime, which he didn't think were any good. Right. So all this, talk, Jeff, about, Harry in for the chop if they don't get promoted and Harry guaranteed promotion. He says not. Are you aware of that?
Well, I think he's just playing it down. I think that QPR started the season with a decent Championship squad. He, of course, brought in the likes of Charlie Austin and Matty Phillips, among one or two other players. I think Junior Hoylett is a very talented player. I think the QPR squad is very good, and I think that they have underachieved a bit this season. I think Harry is wrong. He obviously knows the squad better than I do, but certainly from my distance, I think that QPR and Wigan and probably Bolton should have been right up there, challenging for the automatic promotion positions, which just goes to show how well that Leicester have done, Burnley have done, and Derby have done as well. So yeah, I think QPR have underachieved this season. So I disagree with Harry's take on it. I think he's just trying to play down expectation a little bit.
Do you think they'll get through?
It's an interesting one. If you look at the form of the two sides, Wigan didn't really end the season that well. You just wonder whether they run out of steam. They didn't start the season greatly under Owen Coyle. They had the Europa League as a distraction. Juve Rosler came in, transformed them, got them playing some really good football in the FA Cup as well as in the league. But at the end of the season, last 6 matches, they lost 4 of them. So not fantastic. QPR's last 8 games, won 3, drawn 2, lost 3. So, I mean, they've got the likes of Austin, Hoylett, Doyle back playing, which is important for them. I think this could be a decent game tonight in the first leg.
I think it could be. Apparently, Wigan and Derby are the kind of front runners according to the bookies anyway. But Jeff, thank you very much indeed.
I agree with that. Derby and Wigan would be my choice to find out. And I personally think that Derby will be favourites to join Burnley and Leicester in going up to the Premier League.
Yeah, I think so too. Now go and check your bathroom cabinets if you've got them.
That's right.
And see what you can find in there. You never know.
Toothpaste.
Thank you very much indeed. Jeff Peters there with a look at last night's game. Brighton 1, Derby 2, and it's Wigan QPR tonight, 7:45 kick-off. You'll hear all about it, of course, right here on TalkSport. Now, coming up next, Porky, I've been planning this for some time. We're going to find out whether you're a psychopath. Now, this again comes from Monday night when you said that you have never shed a tear.
No.
And somebody sent a text in suggesting that you might be a psychopath because you have no empathy whatsoever. So I'm going to give you a little test.
I think we need to make it clear that the definition of psychopath in this is not somebody goes around killing everybody else.
Not.
It's an attitude to life.
It is. It is. And I don't think you are one, but we'll find out next on TalkSport. Now, you might remember that particular soundtrack from a film.
Just Psycho.
It is Psycho. Very well done.
Is it the original one?
Of course.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Of course I've seen it. I've seen it loads of times.
You know, the
Brilliant film.
the scene in the shower and the curtain. Oh, then at the end, isn't
Actually,
it?
the scarier one, I think, is the one where it's actually up in the house.
Yeah.
You know, the final scene where, it turns out the mother's sitting there and she's a skeleton.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
I don't think I'm giving you anything away. It's a pretty old
horrifying.
movie.
Horrifying, isn't it? You know,
Norman?
Hey?
Norman? Yeah.
And does he imitate his own mother?
That's exactly right.
That's right, yeah.
He's a schizophrenic.
Yeah,
effectively.
that's right, yeah.
And also a psychopath. Now,
Well, I'm not a psychopath, I'm not schizophrenic. Now, just to make it absolutely clear, before I agree to subject myself to this test, we are not saying that psychopath definition of is mass killer.
No.
We are saying a state of mind, yeah?
No, well, it's a new book. It's out by Andy McNabb, a man you know very well. And
A man who was tortured by the Iraqis.
That's right.
Do you know how they tortured him?
How did they torture
A
him?
red-hot spoon on the wound on his thigh.
Dear me.
Yeah,
That
to
would
the
hurt.
exposed nerves.
That would hurt.
Yeah.
Dr.
Just
Kevin...
2 inches away from his genitalia,
right.
by the way.
Yeah, keep calm. We're trying to give you a test here.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Kevin Dutton as well, who's been on TalkSport many a time. So they've got this new book out, basically, in which they say that actually the common perception, misconception actually, is that psychopaths are, people like Hannibal Lecter and Norman Bates and terribly nasty people. However, what they're saying is you can be a good psychopath so that you can have
Harold
certain
Shipman.
traits. Yes. You can have certain traits which actually will help you succeed in life. So it's kind of a self-help book that they've come up with.
Okay.
Now I'm going to just give you the rules of the quiz before we start,
right?
Because we've got a little bit of music to increase the tension, of course, when we do start.
Fine.
Now I'm going to read you 11 statements. Okay. Now 11 statements.
Right.
Yes. Now if you strongly agree,
all at the same time.
Try and listen, and
Okay.
you'll understand.
Okay.
Right now, if you strongly agree with it, you say I strongly agree. Or you can agree, or you can strongly disagree, or you can just disagree. Okay.
Right, hang on. Strongly agree.
There are 4 answers.
Agree.
Yeah.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah.
Or disagree.
Or just disagree. Yeah.
Okay.
And so you go from 3, 2, 1 to 0 points. Okay.
Got it.
And then we add the points over the end.
Sorry. What order is this in? Strongly agree, and then.
Well, it's not in any order, but you tell me whether you agree or disagree,
Okay.
strongly or not, with each of these statements. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to start the quiz now. Mr. Mike Porky Parry, in the chair, expert on shepherds.
Yeah.
Number 1.
And other things.
I rarely plan ahead. I'm a spur-of-the-moment kind of person. Do you agree or disagree?
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah. I'm an expert at future planning. I plan every second and moment of my life. Although, of course, when
I don't want a long answer.
No,
We've got 11 questions.
When
here.
the unexpected falls on me, I react to it brilliantly.
Yeah. Well, how about reacting to keeping your mouth shut until asking the second question? Number 2.
Don't have to be rude.
Cheating on your partner is okay so long as you don't get caught.
Strongly disagree.
On the grounds you haven't got one.
Excuse me, if I threw that question at you, I might remind the audience of what happened when you went to see the Marriage Guidance Counsellor and admitted to 6 other affairs that your then wife didn't even know about.
Absolute rubbish. Number 3, if something better comes along, it's OK to cancel a long-standing appointment.
Strongly disagree. I'm a man of loyalty.
That's rubbish.
No, I'm a man of loyalty and reliability to my friends. I do not do that.
OK, number 4, seeing an animal injured or in pain doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Strongly disagree. I am absolutely concerned about the welfare of wildlife, animals, all sorts of animals on this earth.
Well, I don't know about you, but this is a very weird sort of setup I'm getting here. Number 5, driving fast cars, riding roller coasters and skydiving appeal to me.
Yes, strongly agree.
You strongly agree with that one?
Agree, yeah.
Finally, we get one that's good.
Yeah.
Number 6, it doesn't matter to me if I have to step on other people to get what I want.
Kind of agree.
OK.
Depends who the person I'm stepping on is, you know?
Yeah.
So if somebody squashy with a fat face like you, it doesn't really prick my conscience.
Well, you'd better get a step ladder if you want to step on me.
Oh, yeah?
Number 7, I'm very persuasive. I have a talent for getting other people to do what I want.
Strongly agree. Strongly agree, because I have a charm and a persona which is attractive to other people.
Well, I think you'll find that's a trait of a psychopath.
No. To
yes, it is.
To women as a sort of sexual in a sexual sort of connotation way, i.e., they find themselves appealed to me, and men from respect.
Yeah. Well, Becky behind the glass isn't being dragged in by your supposed charm, I'm afraid to say.
She's hiding behind a computer.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to look at her.
Yeah, don't. Number 8, I'd be good in a dangerous job because I can make my mind up quickly.
Strongly agree. Strongly agree. I'm a leader of men.
Really?
It's true. I'm a leader of men. I have leadership qualities. It's been recognised over the decades.
The next one's good. Number 9, I find it easy to keep it together when others are cracking under the pressure.
Definitely, strongly agree. I mean, what's that poem called? If? Was it? Rudyard Kipling?
Yeah, If.
And all about you losing their head?
Yeah.
Stay strong, my son.
That's not what it says, actually.
Gunga Din was a better man than me.
I don't think Stay Strong, My Son's one of the lines, to be honest.
Well, there you go.
Number 10, we're almost at the end. If you're able to con someone, that's their problem. They deserve it.
I disagree.
But not strongly?
No.
OK. Number 11, the final question to tally up whether you are or not a psychopath. Most of the time, I think I can answer this one for you. When things go wrong, it's somebody else's fault, not mine.
No, I disagree with that. I don't. I'm a person who takes absolute responsibility for his own actions.
Really?
And I have done throughout my life. And for instance, I worked for a really...
Excuse me, before you start giving us a long-winded answer, do you disagree or strongly disagree?
I disagree.
OK. So, go on, carry on.
I used to work for a really bullying editor, and, you go around shouting at people and all that. I used to often have to stand in the way and say, look, this has gone wrong because it's my fault. I'm head of this department. Stop taking it out on them. It's down to me. That's the only way you can face up to bullies is smack it to them right in the face. And in the end, he crumbled, of course.
Of course. Now, your grand total is 16 points.
Right.
OK. Now, according to what I have in front of me here, Mr. Andy McNabb and Dr. Kevin Dutton would say this to you. Though your conscience is in the right place, you also have a pragmatic streak and generally aren't afraid to do your own dirty work. You're no shrinking violet, but no daredevil either. You generally have little trouble seeing things from another person's perspective, but at the same time are no pushover. Everything in moderation, including moderation, might sum up your approach to life. So you haven't answered these truthfully at all. Because the one thing I can tell you about your life is that nothing is done in moderation.
Of course it is.
Well, like what?
Well, what do you want to talk about? Eating in moderation, drinking in moderation.
You don't drink in moderation.
Of course I do.
You don't support a football team in moderation.
Listen, attitude to life, moderation in all things. I don't get severe with people, but I don't let people off the hook if they've wronged me and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, moderation is not a word I would use to sum you up.
Listen, never mind what you think. Read that endorsement again. That is a fantastic endorsement of what I would say is a complete human being.
I'll tell you what, I'll do one better than
human
that.
Being.
We spoke to Andy McNabb about you, and here's what he said. So, Andy, we've been talking about whether people are psychopaths, good psychopaths or bad psychopaths. Mike Porky Parry, of course, is known to millions of people around the country. I'm going to give him the test later on, and I'm going to find out whether he is, in fact, a psychopath. But knowing him as you do, what do you think he is?
Absolutely not. What he needs is a big cuddle. Just keep him happy.
So Andy McNabb says what you need is a big cuddle. He says you're not a psychopath, which actually, in his world, is a bad thing because I am a psychopath. I took the test and I had about 27 points out of 33.
And what does that make you?
It makes me a successful, not a mad psychopath, no, but it makes me of as a psychopathic tendency.
But a pretty horrible person.
No,
pretty
not a
horrible person.
Well, that's because I answered the quiz correctly.
I'll tell you what.
I didn't answer it. You see, there are several questions here that I don't believe you answered with honesty. See,
I don't agree.
Driving fast cars, riding roller coasters and skydiving appeals to you. Yes, you said that. I don't think that you would agree with this. If something better comes along, it's okay to cancel a long-standing appointment.
No,
I'm
I've never
sure
done that.
That you do that.
No. I tell you, Mike. And by the way, that's a fantastic endorsement of me as a human being. Andy McNabb, we should all remind our millions of listeners. Was a leading member of the SAS. So if he wasn't a psychopath, I'd have been very worried.
Yeah.
Because
he admits that he is.
Yeah, well, he needs to be. If you're in the SAS, you've got to go around breaking people's necks so they can't speak and all that kind of stuff. Of course it is.
It's about being able to make decisions. It's about being ruthless.
Yeah.
It's about being successful.
And avoiding pain, which I can tell you about because I'm currently undergoing a course which helps you to avoid pain and torture and all that kind of stuff.
You won't feel it.
No, I probably won't feel it. No, and I'll tell you that in a minute. Anyway, what I was going to say was What did you say to make me react?
I'll tell you what, I'll interrupt you for a second because I've got a great text here from Steve, who's working the night shift at Heathrow Cargo Centre.
Oh, right.
He says, I've got some useless information for you. He says the largest Australian farm is Anna Creek Station, 6 million acres. It's the largest in the world, slightly larger than Israel. No sheep, only cattle.
That's incredible.
Says, give Porky hell. So when you were poo-pooing the idea that there was millions of acres, you were entirely wrong, as ever.
Yeah, but that's one farm.
Yeah.
Well, there's not 100 of them in Australia that size, is there?
Well, there's obviously a few that would be of that sort of dimension.
How ridiculous! Anyway, what you said about psychopathia and all that kind of stuff. Of course, of course, I'm not the worst. And by the way, Andy McNabb, very interesting man, because you know that if he ever revealed his identity to you, he would literally have to kill you.
Yeah.
Because he's still undercover, and nobody knows what he looks like. Nobody's got a picture of him. He writes these fantastic books. You can speak to him on the telephone. Like
we've
you
had
did.
him in the studio, haven't we?
Yeah, but with a bag over his head.
That I was here.
No, with a bag over his head, though.
Oh, I thought it was you that had the bag over.
No. Because Andy still can't be identified to this day. He is, he's worked at such an elite level of state secret work and all that kind of stuff. That's right.
Secret work.
Yeah,
right.
State secret work.
Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to take some of your calls. 08717 223344. We're going to talk about Beyonce. We're going to talk about vaping, which is a new thing, which you can smoke cigarettes that don't actually have any smoke inside them. And lots and lots of other things going on. Ara, the gunner, I think it's Ara or Aror, has texted and he says, Mike, when Napoleon surrendered at Waterloo, Porky thinks that he surrendered to Lord Nelson. That's why, just like Everton, Porky always gets on the wrong boat for Europe.
No. Nelson was at Trafalgar. He was the sea captain.
Yeah, but you mixed it up once, remember?
No.
The people who listen to this show always remember the mix-ups that you have.
The Waterloo was the Duke of Wellington. And in reward, the nation gave him a house in London and called it Number 1 London. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
It is, yeah, Number 1 London. It's near Hyde Park. And it's not Number 1 London anymore, obviously. But
there's a Number 1 Hyde Park as well. There's that new building that they've just put up.
Yeah, that's a new building. But this was in those days, obviously. When
Number 1 Blackfriars has been built around the corner.
Yeah, that
looks very impressive. That building.
I've been and looked at some of the apartments there.
Have you?
They are very impressive indeed.
Are you going to buy me one?
Well, I might buy one, but and you can certainly live there, providing you pay the monthly rent of about $3,500.
I'll be more than happy to do that.
That'd be great. That means $40,000 a year of your untaxed salary will have to go on rent before you can even buy one of those multiplicity of hamburgers that you eat each day.
All right. I could probably sublet it and make even more money. It's about time you gave me something. Whatever happened to that Easter egg, by the way, that you were supposed to be bringing me?
I brought it in for you.
You brought me an Easter egg.
I brought you an Easter egg.
It's now nearly middle of May.
I love it.
Whitsun, it's gone.
I'll have it when we resume in a second or two.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We have, I think, established that Mike Porky Parry is not a psychopath, which I suppose he's quite happy about.
I am very proud about it.
I'm not in any way discouraged by the fact that I am a psychopath, because it's obviously been why I've been so successful throughout the course of my life.
Oh, have you been very successful?
I would say so. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I would say so.
Yeah, successful in all your domestic relationships, eh?
I've had some great domestic relationships, which I'm very happy about,
and some shocking ones of which you should be ashamed.
Not at all. I've got 4 4 beautiful children, of whom I'm very proud.
Yeah, and distressed wives, ex-wives, ex-lovers, littered all over the globe.
I've got one ex-wife. That's all I've got. Plenty of people have got one ex-wife. The fact that you've never married, I think, is slightly strange. I
didn't go around wrecking people's lives in the process.
No, you did. You just did it at work instead. Now, here's an Easter egg I hold before me. I shall put a picture out of it on social media a little bit later on.
So you're happy now?
But it's a very weird one. It's a pirate. It's a Captain Egg Wash pirate.
That's right.
And the guy's got an eye patch and some dodgy-looking teeth.
Yeah, well, he looks a bit like you. That's why.
He does a bit. Yeah,
Ugly.
It's quite disturbing.
Ugly.
Quite disturbing. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank
you very much. I'll tell you about everything I said about your measly generosity around Easter time. Now, we've been talking about the whole Greg Dyke situation, the proposals that he's trying to make sure that football gets a little bit better in this country. We've got a call from Gary, who's an England fan. He wants to tell us about his son, who seems to have wasted quite a few years.
You've got wives on the brain, haven't you?
Well, you have now. Gary, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling. What's your story? What's your son's story?
Well, basically, young lad started off grassroots football, got spotted by a League Two club, started playing for them, and he was doing really well. And anyway, at 14-year-old, the manager actually slipped him into a pre-season game in the first team.
Really?
Which,
he must have been good.
Yeah, so he was all right, obviously potential and talent and what have you. So all of a sudden, loads of Premiership clubs started knocking on the door, ringing, agents calling round. And he spent a week at Manchester United, a week at Manchester City. And
this was when he was about 14, was it?
This was 14, yeah. There was other clubs, Blackburn, Newcastle was after him, but there just wasn't enough time during that summer for him to go there. Anyway, a Premiership club came into the League Two club where he was, and they bought him for £100,000. I give him a four-year contract, which was very good. And he played for the Premiership team, through the youth system or what have you. And now he's 19 now, coming to the end of his contract. Now, obviously, he's not getting nowhere near the first team, which, at 19-year-old, not many do. But what's happened is he's been lacking on game time because with a Premiership club, the reserve team, they quite often play the first team that aren't getting picked for the first team players that are coming back from injury and what have you. So the young lads, struggle to get game time. So in the past year, he's played next to no football. I don't think he's had 90 minutes for 6 months.
Gary, can just interrupt there, mate, because it's an interesting story, this, but let's get to what's really happening here. What's really happening here is, and I'm sorry to have to say this, is your lad isn't good enough to break through into the first team. Now,
That's right.
You say at 19, not many get there. The big talking point about a 19-year-old at the moment is John Stones, the Everton defender, who Gary Lineker himself said today should go to Brazil, the World Cup. You've got to be of that sort of quality to get into the Premier League, which is, one of the best leagues in the world. Now, shouldn't your lad have ambitions to move down a league or something like that to play football?
That's exactly it. But where do you go when he's got to 19-year-old now? The manager said to him, Jack, you're not ready for the first team. Drop down a few leagues and work your way back up, sort of thing.
Well, is he supposed to do that on his own? He's supposed to have an agent? How does it work, Gary?
Exactly. That's our point. How do you do it? I mean, I can't. What do I do? Ring round every football club saying, my lad, have a look at my lad.
I'll tell you what I would do. I'd ring up Dario Gradi, who's on the Football Commission, which reported today, and is the long-standing director of football at Crewe. And he's handled players who've actually, like Robbie Savage, I think, dropped out of Manchester United and went, did he go to Crewe or something? But he went somewhere else and then came back up again. But, Dario Gradi has promoted players like former England captain who captained Aston Villa as well, David Platt, I'm sorry, and that kind of thing. Honestly, that's what I would do, Gary, because this man knows how to rescue kids' careers. Because otherwise, if your boy's not being given any direction, he's in no man's land. And no man's land means he's neither breaking through into the first team, nor is he being able to shop window himself anywhere else.
That's right, because the first thing, I've spoken to a couple of clubs, and the first thing they say is, what's he done in the past year? You know, he hasn't done nothing in the past year, you know, next to nothing. Yeah. He's still keeping his fitness up and he's still training.
And how's his morale, Gary, as a result of this? Because he must have thought at one point he was going to go and play for one of the big teams. Well,
that's right. I mean, at 14, when he was doing so well in the League Two club, he was a big fish in a small pond sort of thing. But you know, who's not going to turn down a chance to play for a Premier League club?
Well, it's true. But you see, the point here is that either you're casting him as a victim of the system, which doesn't allow young players to make the breakthrough, or, as you quite honestly admitted to a few minutes ago, he's just not good enough. Now,
that's right.
No, he's not good enough.
That's a harsh way to put it, though.
But he's not. There's no other way of putting it. There's no point in saying my son's being victimised and discriminated against.
No, but he has been a victim of the system.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
That's what Gary's saying.
Gary will know better than most with his son being in the position you are. You can be the best footballer in England. You could be playing for England schoolboys at 16 and be an outstanding prospect and never actually make it to the first team in a Premier League team. It happens all the time. But
what shouldn't happen, Gary, presumably, is what may be being considered by you, which is that, you know, if he can't get down to a lower league team, he just gives it up altogether.
That's right. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's again young talent with potential that's thrown on the scrap heap.
So do you think that this Greg Dyke proposal might have something in it then?
Absolutely, because you know, if it's given, Premiership clubs, if they're getting a B team sort of thing, a second reserve team, whatever you want to call it, and getting the young lads playing more, they're going to get seen more playing lower league clubs. The lower league clubs then may become interested in them. You know, when they're coming to the end of the contract, if they're not good enough for the Premiership first team, then they can drop down to these leagues. But as it stands at the minute, you know, you're getting to that brick wall sort of thing. As no, you're not good enough for the first team. You know, for the Premiership first team,
sure.
End of your contract, Bob's your uncle. You know, where do you go from there?
Sure. You sound to me like you're from the East Midlands, Gary. Is that right?
No, I'm not. No, from Lincolnshire.
Lincolnshire. Well, that's near enough. That's
no, it's not. You're wrong about it.
No, that is the East Midlands. It is. It is. You go through Nottingham and then through Leicester, Derby, and then you go out to Lincolnshire.
Would you consider yourself to be from the East Midlands, Gary?
No, not at all.
Thank you very much.
Well, you sound like you could be. But anyway, don't worry, Gary. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us, because the reason
you always admit when you're wrong,
No.
And you're a psychopath test.
No. Listen, the reason I said East Midlands, because he sounds very much like a me-duck lad, you know, like he comes from Derby or Leicester.
Sounds exactly like a Lincolnshire.
Right, me-duck. That's what they call people there.
Let me remind you of number 11. Let me remind you of number 11 on the psychopath test. Most of the times when things go wrong, it's somebody else's fault, not mine. So you're basically blaming Gary for sounding like somebody from the East Midlands.
He sounds to me like he comes from Derby or Leicester, and the reason I say that is because what I should tell you is this. Now, we were talking about the what were we talking about earlier? The Eurovision Song Contest, right? Now, the young lady who's representing us this year, she comes from Molly Smitten Downs, comes from Anstey in Leicestershire.
Oh yeah.
Now, oh we are. Look, a bit of Molly Downs, Molly Smitten Downs.
Yeah, what's your point?
Well, my point is this. Where does the new world snooker champion come from?
He comes from Leicester, doesn't he?
He does. He comes from Leicester. What's his name?
What's his name? Not Welby, something like that.
Well, you don't even know his name.
Selby.
You don't even know the name of the new world snooker champion.
No, I don't. I don't really follow snooker.
Anyway,
I know he beat Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah, and he comes from Leicester. Right, now then.
I'm not very interested in snooker.
No. Now, let me tell you this as well.
Are you interested in snooker?
Yes, I am, yeah. Yeah, interested in snooker, yeah. Gary Lineker comes from Leicester.
Yeah.
Willie Thorne, you know, who was commentating on the snooker,
he comes from Leicester as well.
Leicester.
Yeah.
And Leicester, of course, finishes champions of the championship.
What?
So Leicester's didn't they? Leicester.
Yeah.
Champions of the championship, right?
So
what I'm saying is Leicester's becoming the in place in this country to come from. And that's why I thought that Gary, our caller there, came from Leicester. He sounded like he comes from Leicester, claims he's from Lincolnshire. I would say he's moved from Leicester to Lincolnshire fairly recently.
So you're saying it's his fault that you got it wrong?
My ability to...
So you lied in the psychopath test?
My ability to interpret accents is as sharp
you got it wrong.
As my nous to discern an oath from an intellectual.
Stephen has texted
and there's one oath and one intellectual in this studio.
Yeah, you're quite correct. Stephen says this: the Battle of Waterloo was won with Lord Collingwood in command, who I believe was from Newcastle. So Porky got it wrong again.
No, Duke of Wellington was in charge of the British Army at Waterloo.
Well, not called it Stephen.
Well, Steve doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm a student of history. So, Steve, thanks very much indeed for that bit of advice, mate.
Number 11.
And next time, put it in your pipe and smoke it, because it's wrong.
Most of the time when things go wrong, it's somebody else's fault, not mine. I rest my case. We're going to talk about electric cigarettes coming up next. Now, you might remember this one. Now, stop for a second. I've got this text from somebody saying, is Porky doing requests? Can he give us his rendition of Bucks Fizz, Making Your Mind Up? But I'd rather you didn't rip his skirt off, though.
Making your mind up. She still does that today, Cheryl Baker. I read a piece on her yesterday saying even at 60, she still, performs in holiday camps and all that kind of thing. 60s revival.
Yeah.
No, what's it, 60s? Well, she 80s.
80s
revivals or something like that. And
she still did a skirt.
Yeah,
and
one thing people want
want
is rip the old skirt off, and all that. But they were great, I thought, those. And I tell you something, Mike, it's interesting because, of course, just to remind those who've just tuned in, this is all about Eurovision Song Contest on Saturday. But
are you going to be watching that then?
Yeah, of course I'll be watching it. Yeah, of course I'll be watching it.
I can't remember the last time I watched the Song Contest.
But here, I've done a load of research on this. Now, ABBA won in 74, OK? After that, the producers of, the people who held the selection for the UK entry insisted they had to all look and sound like ABBA, right? So what happened is, first of all, we got the Brotherhood of Man in 1976, OK?
Oh, yeah, they were awful.
And they won with, was it Kisses for Me? Save
they won it, did they?
all your kisses for me. Here, listen. Your kisses for me. Save all your kisses for me.
This is horrendous.
Da, 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 da. Bye-bye, honey. Goodbye.
This is awful. Can you stop that, please?
No, but it's a happy
God's
song.
sake.
It's a happy song. Now, what is so significant about that tune?
I don't think there's anything significant about it at all.
No,
if I searched, the deepest depths of any kind of, research library, I don't think I would find anything good about that.
Right, well, let me tell you this. That won with the biggest percentage of votes in the history of the competition. They got 80.3% of all the votes.
Really?
That's how good it was. Now, that was in 76.
Or maybe all the others were just really bad.
2 years after ABBA won
Can
it,
we not
right?
move on from the Eurovision
No,
Song Contest
hang
now?
on, because I've got to tell you.
It doesn't help they keep playing all the bloody music.
And then, in 1981, the organisers insisted that Bucks Fizz were the entrants with the Making Your Mind Up, which we've just heard, OK? And they were so similar that ABBA did... what did ABBA do? ABBA did Chiquita and Fernando... Can you hear the drums, Fernando? Right? And Brotherhood of Man did Figaro and Angelo. Do you remember?
No,
Angelo,
I don't remember. What, you mean they did
in,
3 songs each in the Eurovision Song Contest, you mean?
No, what I'm saying is the singles that they...
I see, you mean afterwards?
They brought out after the competition.
I literally do not care.
All sounded like each other.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Don't remember Angelo. Angelo was... Angelo
Dundee, I remember.
Down in the village in Mexico.
No.
It's all rubbish.
Rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Well, it was, I thought...
Can we not talk about something sensible?
I thought that Kisses for Me was really... Well, listen...
This is meant to be a sensible show.
Yeah, I'll tell you something sensible now. You know, we were talking about Andy McNabb earlier and all that pain. Do you know what...
Somebody sent me a text saying what his real name is, by the way.
Oh, well, we don't know. We can't tell. That's a state secret.
I know.
Shouldn't say that. But he practiced a thing called mindfulness, right?
Mindfulness?
Yeah, mindfulness. It's like a sort of... It's like meditation, and Buddhists practice it.
Do they?
But what it's all about is, and they teach this to the SAS, it's a method of avoiding pain in torture. And what you do is, mindfulness is about concentrating, and I practice this now, Mike, and it works very effectively.
What about that breathing thing you were doing last week?
Yeah, I practice that as well. That's
what was the name of that?
Well, that's a different
Headache or something like that?
No.
I'm named after the Ukrainian doctor.
Yes, that's right. But it's that's a different
People
discipline.
thought that was a great, very funny video, by the way.
Oh, really?
Which went round a few thousand
I'm not
times.
sure it's funny at all. It was just practical. But this mindfulness, Mike, what it is when you're lying there and they're sticking needles under your fingernails and all that kind of stuff, you don't feel the pain because mindfulness means you concentrate on the second. So, like a goldfish, when it's in a bowl, its mouth opens and closes, and all it's thinking is, this is a nice place. This is a nice place.
This is a nice place. Thinking, really,
yes, you do. This is a nice place because fish only got a retention of like 2 seconds or something like that, you know what I mean? And then the world starts again for them. That's what mindfulness is.
Well, you don't have to try very hard to get into that state, do you?
No, you just think to yourself. What you concentrate on is if you're being tortured, but there's a light bulb in the ceiling above you. You just focus on the light bulb and concentrate all your thoughts on what's inside that light bulb, and that takes your mind away from the pain that you experience in your fingers, because people are shoving needles in them.
Most of us are not ever going to be tortured at any particular point. Does this presumably has some use in everyday life?
Yes, it does.
Most people are not going to be tortured, are they?
Well, you never know, do you? You never know in this day and age.
No, I'm not expecting to be tortured any time between here and Canary Wharf on any given morning.
Well, no,
I mean, it can sometimes be difficult getting onto the tube. But I think getting tortured, I think, is unlikely.
Yeah, no, but for instance, it could be something completely different. For instance, you might find yourself in a desperate financial situation or something like that. Well, you mustn't dwell on that. You must practice mindfulness.
You just look at the light bulb.
Well, or concentrate on something in the distance, like go for a walk and concentrate on a tree.
What if the bank's in the distance?
Well,
or there's a man coming towards you from the distance who's looking for the money.
Yeah, get away from the bank and all that, and all that kind of stuff. And what you say to yourself is, you think about that tree and how long does it take?
Well, how long are you supposed to stare at it?
Well, you focus on it, and then it takes over your whole mind, and then all the pain in your mind goes away.
That's rubbish.
No, it's called mindfulness.
Rubbish. No. If you're walking down the road and you're worried about something, what you're saying is you're supposed to focus your mind on 5 different things in the space of 100 yards.
Yes, that's right. Well, no, one thing is enough.
Not like to fall down a manhole.
No, I sometimes concentrate on a blossom tree, which is
concentrate on anything.
On the route of one of the walks that I take on the North Downs, and by concentrating on this blossom tree, I cleanse my mind of all
Well, there's not a lot in there,
all negative thoughts. You see, I'm not writing to that sort of nonsense. If you can't... I tell you, practices mindfulness now, bankers, because of the financial crisis, hit them so badly.
Well, apparently the recession's over, according to the paper this morning.
Yeah, it does. It says it's over altogether. But anyway, I thought I'd let you know, Mike, because sometimes what I do is I go through all this...
Yeah, but surely the point about something like that is that you have to set aside a particular time of the day. You can't do it as a general rule. I mean, for example, we're doing a radio show, right?
Right.
Now, if I've got something that's worrying me, not that you would care because you're so self-absorbed...
I tell you these things to try and help you.
Yeah, but what am I supposed to do? Like, do a radio show while staring at a point in the ceiling?
No, you should be focusing on me, and I focus on you, and that empties our brains of all sorts of other things, so we can concentrate on getting out a quality radio show.
But I don't have a problem concentrating. You do.
I don't have a problem concentrating at all.
Now,
why do you think I've got a problem concentrating?
Because you're always jumping from one thing to another.
No, not at all.
I mean, you cannot tell one single story in the space of 10 minutes. We needed 15 minutes to hear the story about your toothpaste.
Well, you wanted to hear the story about the toothpaste.
I did want to hear it, but I didn't know it was going to take so long.
I told you about it.
I'm nervous now to ask you about vape and vaping, because I don't know how long it's going to take you to explain it to me.
Well, I'll tell you where it all starts.
Yeah, go on.
I'll tell you where it all starts. It started with my very good friend David Ginola.
David Ginola?
Yeah.
Are you going to keep, by the way, I must say, it's starting to get a bit repetitive now. You keep calling him a sophisticate. I don't think he likes it.
He does like it.
I don't think he does.
He does, and he says that I'm one of the few sophisticats that he's met in this country.
You don't think he's using sarcasm there, do you?
No, I don't think he's using sarcasm.
By the way, what about Jose Mourinho getting fined 10,000 quid for being sarcastic? Well, that's what they've done.
Well, I'm glad he did, because you can't take the mickey out of the football authorities in this country and hope to get away with it. If we didn't have authorities like referees and linesmen to run the game, we wouldn't have any game.
He was making fun of them being sarcastic. What's wrong with that?
He wasn't. He was insulting them.
He got £8,000 fine for encroaching onto the pitch.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit harsh, because he was trying to be helpful, wasn't he, on that
Well, I don't know, but surely you should
get
fined more for encroaching onto a pitch than you should be for being sarcastic.
No, because what he did is he was basically very rude and dismissive to the officials. Well, you can't treat them like that. You've got to have respect.
That's ridiculous.
You've got to have respect.
Anyway, tell us about this vaping thing.
Well, OK, yeah, I was in the studio the other morning, right, and I was doing the papers with Al and David.
Right.
And I was sitting in this chair here to my right, and David was sitting in this chair I'm sitting in now. And I was talking to Al across the top of these computers and microphones and everything. And I suddenly looked to my left, because I was aware out of the corner of my eye of a sort of cloud. Looked to my left, and David was holding an e-cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
With the vapour coming out.
Yeah.
Now, my first thought was, where are the smoke alarms in this studio? Because I'll be going off any second now.
Because they don't give off smoke, do they? It's just
vapour. Vapour, and I didn't realise that, you see. I went into a panic and started thinking, the fire brigade are going to arrive any minute now, because these are automatically alarmed to the fire station, all that kind of stuff. And it didn't happen. David, of course, knew better, as being a sophisticat he would.
Yeah.
But, no, the point of my story
Defense de fumée is the sign in France, I think, isn't it?
What?
Defense de fumée.
What's that mean?
It means no smoking.
Oh, does it?
In French.
Interesting.
You don't know that?
No, I didn't.
I thought you were a student of French.
But I'm not a smoker, am I? So I wouldn't
but
see
everywhere
that.
you go, you see the sign.
Okay, so you see the sign. Don't you notice the sign, do I? I don't know what the French for "would you like another hamburger" is, because I don't go around
Really?
stuffing hamburgers in my face. I bet you do.
Well, if I wanted another hamburger,
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask somebody, would you like another hamburger, would I?
No, you'd say, give me
It would be
another
like,
hamburger.
could I have another hamburger?
Yeah. Anyway, point of the story is,
Ultra hamburger.
I-
S'il vous plaît, I think I would say.
an ultra burger. And so I go off and do some research on this vapour stuff, and it's very interesting, actually, because...
You should have just asked me,
Why?
because I know about smoking.
Yeah, but you smoke to a dangerous level.
Well,
and
look,
therefore your opinion's not valid, because
well,
you
I'm afraid
will...
you've done it again, Porky, because we've run out of time. You'll have to carry on the story later. Have you lost all track of time?
No, it's just that you, for some unknown reason, ramble on about things, interrupt me all the time, I can't finish the point I'm trying to make because you keep interrupting.
Yes, well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to keep interrupting you again. Focus on the light bulb for 5 minutes and maybe you can clear your head once again and you come back with nothing in it. We are the Two Mics. Loads more coming up next. We're going to talk about Bristol City merging with Bristol Rovers. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Porky Parry. We are together, the Two Mics. Now, I'm going to let you finish that vaping story a little bit later on because you're taking so long to tell these stories. We've got other stories to tell. We're going to talk to Steve Atwell now.
If you didn't keep interrupting me, I'd be able to, give the millions of listeners we have the benefit of my knowledge on these things.
Yeah, well, you can give the benefit of knowledge, just give it a little bit quicker. Steve Atwell's a Bristol City fan. He's over in the United States of America.
Yeah, good lad.
Now, before we say hello to him, why don't you tell us the benefit of your view on Bristol City and Bristol Rovers? OK,
now, Steve, it's great to have you on the show, mate, and, I'm sure you're a devoted fan of your club in Bristol. But just let me say this, please. I've got the records of the two Bristol clubs in front of me, Bristol Rovers and Bristol City. Between you, you've never won anything. Bristol is the 7th biggest city in this country, and its record as a footballing city is an utter disgrace, because you have never managed, either your team or your arch rivals, one plays in blue and white, the other plays in red.
Steve's a Bristol City fan,
yeah, I know,
in case you've forgotten
I know. But you've and Bristol Rovers have now even gone out of the Football League altogether. But you've never managed to amass one successful season in either club. And isn't it about time? You just said, right, forget this for a game of soldiers. We are now going to merge the two, call them Bristol United, and try and actually put our imprint on the football map.
Well, first of all, that's not entirely accurate, is it? Because we had a period in the mid-70s to early 80s when we were in the top flight, and I think, granted, our best placed position in that period was something like 15th or 17th.
But you were in the first division, though.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And historically, twice. I think back in the early 1900s, we were back up there as well.
In 1907, you were runners-up in Division 1.
Yeah, and
also that's the best it ever got.
FA Cup.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, that's the best ever got.
Steve,
Anyway,
Steve, I'm sorry about this attack that Parry seems to be launching at you. But tell us why you wouldn't want this to happen.
Well, I think every Bristol City fan will tell you that they're proud to be a City fan and proud to wear that shirt when they go and watch the games. And every Rovers fan, even now, it's like the bleakest time in their history, but I'm sure they're still deep down proud to be a Gashead, even though it's a really tough time. And part of the reason why I'm a City fan, and is part of the identity of the club, is like the history of the club, the location.
You haven't got a history.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, honestly, Steve.
Why has he got a history?
You haven't got a history. You haven't got anything to boast about whatsoever.
Because we've got a history. We've been around since 1894, and
you've been failures. You've been failures since 1894.
Well, it's what do you call? It's all according to how you gauge success. So for me, like supporting City, I go watch a game. When we score, I'm ecstatic. And so, but I'll ask you a question. So who do you support? Sorry,
Everton.
Everton. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So when
we are the 4th most successful club in the history of English football. That's official.
Yeah.
Very successful under David Moyes, though.
Well, I've got a couple of Blue-Nose mates. So when your team scores, you're ecstatic. But are you say, "Oh, I'm really happy, but I would be happier if my team had won the Champions League." You know, so you're still happy when your team scores, and you're still happy when your team gets 3 points. And you know, to really understand, you know, and be, understand what it is to be passionate about a club. I think you have to, you know, understand the lows as well.
Well, this is one of the things that particularly if you support a team that's in one of the lower leagues, because the lower leagues have taken a lot of sort of attention in the past 24 hours.
They shouldn't be in the lower leagues.
Hang on a second.
Seventh biggest city.
I don't know what you got against Bristol. Steve, here's the thing. I don't know if you've had a chance to see what Greg Dyke's come out with in the last sort of 12 hours or so, but he's talking about bringing in a new league, which he would call League 3, which would be between the bottom of League 2 and the top of the conference. And people have got very worked up about it because they've been saying, well, you know, a lot of these clubs down at the bottom of the football league have got great history, they've got great supporters. You know, why should they suffer? And I mean, it's similar to what, say, Porky Parry's saying here, that, you know, why should Bristol Rovers and Bristol City merge just because, in his words, they're not very successful? Because you could probably say that about loads of teams in the football league.
Well, exactly, and if you're just gauging like a club by success, then you know you could whittle, you know, theoretically you could whittle the 96 clubs down to, I don't know, say like 6 or 7 teams that, you know, have
about 10. I mean, you could get rid of half the Premier League, couldn't you?
But Steve, you come from a big and wealthy city, and you should do better. I mean, can I tell you how pathetic it is, Steve? Can I tell you how pathetic it is?
Sorry about this, Steve.
Guess what? Guess what? Your lot are so hopeless that they actually entered the Welsh Cup in 1934 and won it. I mean,
they never won anything.
Well, the Welsh Cup is for teams in Wales.
Well, they won something then.
Why did we won the Freight Rover Trophy, I believe, twice.
You won the Anglo-Scottish Cup in 1978.
Hang on a second, you said they didn't win anything.
Well, they haven't won anything worth talking about.
Well, you've just told me they've now won 2 things.
The Freight Rover Trophy in 86, runners-up in 87, and then the Auto Windscreen Shield, you were runners-up in 2000. And then you won the LDV Van Trophy in 2003. Fancy winning a trophy named after a blinking van. I mean, you know, it's pathetic.
Well, I imagine winning a cup named after milk.
Yeah, but that was the League Cup.
Well, it was the Milk Cup.
Sponsored by the Milk Board. This is the LDV Van Trophy, I'm sure.
So hang on. Well, let me just get this straight. Steve, carry on.
Yeah, so if you look at where the club is at the moment, okay, so last season wasn't so great. We got relegated, and Sean O'Driscoll, when he came in, like everyone thought it was a good appointment. And to start off with, it's kind of making the right noises about building the team and the club up from the bottom with the youth system and everything. And his mantra was about the performance rather than results. And as a result of that, I wouldn't say that the relegation from the Championship to League One was really his fault, but the performances in the first half of the season were kind of dire. And when he was sacked, I was disappointed, along with I guess like quite a few other supporters, that he wasn't given a bit more time. And I thought the appointment of Steve Cottrell at that point wasn't going to be like a great thing. But if you take the second half, what happened in the second half of the season? So our form has probably been up there. I don't know, we've been one of the probably in the top 5 teams in that division for the second half.
Well, let me say this to you, Steve, as well. But let me say this to you. I mean, Parry's whole kind of theory is based upon the fact that you've never won anything. You've just now read out 5 things that you've won.
They're not things worth winning.
Well, yeah, but it's more than Everton won under David Moyes.
English team winning the Welsh Cup.
Yeah, but taking that theory then, so would you apply it to say Glasgow, Celtic and Rangers, they've never won the Champions League, so they should merge to give them a chance to win the Champions League?
No, you don't get me, Steve. Steve, they come from a big city and they each win trophies almost every year because that's what you're supposed to do when you come from a big city. What I'm saying is, for a conurbation, a city the size of Bristol, you want to knock down both grounds, knock down Ashton Gate and the other place, right, knock them down, build a new ground, merge the 2 clubs, call it Bristol United, then you might have a chance of doing something. I mean, for instance,
how would that guarantee success, then?
It wouldn't guarantee success, but if you focus the resources chances of football on one club in Bristol instead of two, because clearly it can't support two teams, you'd have a much better chance of success. One other indication, by the way, Steve, and I don't wish to be harsh about your club. You are being harsh, don't wish to be harsh, but for instance, you've had the opportunity to have some good managers over the years. Joe Jordan, right? Dennis Smith, who was a great England centre-half. Russell Osman. But what is and Tony Poulis has even been manager of your club. But what is significant about every one of those names is they only ever stayed 1 year, because they got there, realised it was a hopeless case, that the ambition factor in Bristol...
What have you got against Bristol?
Excuse me, the ambition factor in Bristol is 0, so they all pushed off after 1 year. And I mean, surely you're getting the message by now. You know, it is embarrassing to be a Bristol City fan.
Absolutely, it's not embarrassing, and every City fan is proud to be a Bristol City fan. And you know, at this time, with Yeovil coming down to our League One, we're probably going to be the number one team in the West Country again. But if you look at our position now,
doesn't say much.
But if you look at our position now, we got a billionaire owner, Steve Lansdowne, who's Bristol born and bred and City fan, and he's putting a lot of investment into the club. They're rebuilding Ashton Gate. That's one of the reasons why.
What are they rebuilding it as? A supermarket, maybe?
Well, I don't know, Tom. Steve, just be quiet for a minute. I don't know why he's so anti-Bristol. I've got no idea. But listen, we've got to leave it there, Steve, because we've got to move on as usual. He's taking up way too much time. Have you ever been to Bristol?
Yeah.
Yeah, which part?
I'm not sure, actually. I've only ever been there once, and I couldn't quite understand the city. Is it separated by, like, a canal or a river or something?
There is a canal there.
Yeah, a canal,
and
yeah.
the River Avon is also there.
Yeah, I was in the bit where the canal is, I think, and I couldn't work out the logistics of the city at all. It didn't look like a city to me. It looked a bit like L.A. You know, it didn't seem to have any centre.
It's got nothing like L.A.
Well, has Bristol got a centre?
Of course it has.
Does it? I know, I couldn't find it.
It's not far from Bristol Temple Mead Station.
I stayed on a hotel on a hill sort of stuff, like a De Vere hotel. Hey?
Were you in Clifton?
No, I was in Clifton. That's got
so
suspension
you haven't seen
bridge.
The suspension bridge, so you didn't even go and see that?
Well, what would I want to go and see that for? I was there on a job doing something, you know, so I went to where the action was.
It's one of the great sights of Isambard Kingdom Brunel. Of course you should have gone.
Well, Isambard King Brunel's a great man. Great, one of the great,
shocking. Listen,
great
we've got
British
to go.
men of all
Stop
time.
taking up all the time. Porky Parry and myself, Mike Graham, back with some more nonsense. We'll hear about the vaping coming up next.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. He seems to have upset quite a lot of people in Bristol. I don't know why you've got this thing a bit against Bristol. Listen to this. This is from somebody called Steve-O. He says, Mike, you are a tube, my friend. And he says, Bristol City forever. And somebody else called Natch has sent this in at TalkSport. He says, Parry, don't come to Bristol, you fat. And then he uses a word which I can't repeat on a family radio show.
Well, please don't. I mean, you know, that sort of abuse is obviously the recourse of the ignorant, but I'm merely stating the facts. What have either Bristol team ever won of any significance? The answer is nothing. I'm not being unkind or cruel, I'm just being factual.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that, therefore, they should be kind of, put down as a football organisation.
Of course they should.
And also, you were making fun, and you said they'd never won anything. I mean, then you started reading off all the things they'd won. And our friend down in Australia, at FFDU, says this, remind Mike that Everton got to the Zenith Data System Challenge Cup final and lost.
Yeah, I think we lost to Crystal Palace. I think it was Palace.
Yeah, because we saw, when we went to Crystal Palace, we saw the trophy,
Oh, did we?
we?
Is that right?
It was in their cabinet.
That's right.
Also, by the way, I've been asked to point out that you keep saying Everton are the fourth most successful club in the history of English football.
Yes.
Incorrect.
Why?
Because Chelsea are now fourth, and Everton and Spurs share fifth.
No, I don't
Chelsea
agree with that.
have got 26 trophies. Everton and Spurs have got 24 each.
Yeah, but if you accumulate the number of points gained in the top flight of English football, and remember, Everton are...
So you're saying getting points is now some kind of achievement, is it?
Well, it's accumulation of points in the top flight of English football. Only Arsenal have got more.
So then Bristol City surely have won quite a lot because they've been going for so long that their trophy cabinet would be full of points.
They've never been in the top flight except for one season.
Well, Bristol City have been in there.
One season.
So
and that was it.
Yeah.
So now Bristol Rovers have gone out the Football League altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Well, let's forget about your
shameful.
obsession. Let's forget about your obsession with Bristol.
If I was
let's get back to you making yet another mistake about Everton being fourth because they're fifth.
If I was the mayor of Bristol, right, I would summon.
I don't think there's much chance of that after your performance
tonight. I would summon the owners of the two clubs to my chambers and I say, you are embarrassing this city. We don't have anything in the world to tell the world about our football prowess. We should. We're the 7th biggest city in this country. Why are we so pathetic? I mean, Sheffield have got 2 teams, a city about the same size as Bristol, and they've got 2 teams who have credible football records, right? Bradford, about the same size as Bristol, 2 teams, not really done very well in the last 20 or 30 years, but before that had 2 credible teams, Bradford Park Avenue and Bradford City.
Bradford Park Avenue?
Bradford Park Avenue.
Are they still going?
No, yeah, they are, but they're a non-league team these days. But
why
then...
don't they shut it down?
But then take a...
Why don't they just shut that down and merge then? Why are you having to go at Bristol instead of Bradford?
The reason I'm going to go at Bristol...
Maybe you can have a go at Bradford next week.
No, I don't want to go at Bradford. I don't care about Bradford. Bristol are a port. Now, the other port city...
Bristol are a port.
Yeah.
And that's why you care about them.
Now, the other port city in this country, which has 2 football teams, is a city called Liverpool.
Yeah.
About the same size as Bristol, if not smaller.
What about Glasgow?
I think... Well, I'll come to that in a minute. Now, the city of Liverpool have 2 of the most successful teams in the history of this country. So if the city of Liverpool can do it, why can't the city of Bristol do it? Why is the city of Bristol so far behind the city of Liverpool? I mean, the city of Liverpool is probably the, predominant football city in this country.
Liverpool is a much bigger conurbation as well.
It's
a much bigger area.
It's not at all.
You take in Birkenhead, you take in Tranmere, you take in...
Well, in Bristol, they even entered the blinking Welsh Cup and won it. That's how far they go into South Wales.
Yeah.
So that's a whole new country. So you can't say that Merseyside is a bigger
South Wales
conurbation.
that support Bristol City because as soon as you cross over into South Wales, the first sort of up to Newport is quite English. There's quite a lot of English people that live there, so there's probably quite a lot of Bristol City
they're in
fans.
Wales, though.
Yeah, but they are in Wales. They live in Wales technically, but actually they're English.
I'm sure about that, Mike.
Well, of course you're not sure about it. I am sure about it because I used to edit a newspaper down there, so I know an awful lot about the area.
That was another failed venture, was it?
It wasn't a failed venture, no. It was very successful for a while.
How long did you last there?
I think I did that for about 3 years.
Yeah,
and
really?
then I was moved on to Scotland.
Yeah, that's right.
And it only failed, like most things with me, they failed after I left them.
Yeah, that's right.
As long as I was there, they worked very well.
No, you put them on the slippery slope, then pushed off, and then, when the old hammer came down, you weren't anywhere to be seen. Yeah, typical.
Anyway, some other people are saying that you being very, very obnoxious tonight. He says, this guy says, why is the normally hilarious Porky being so obnoxious tonight? His treatment of the Bristol fan was appalling. Which is true.
Appalling?
I mean, this guy, came onto the show to talk about, have a reasonable discussion about and a debate, and you just kind of slagged off Bristol.
No, I didn't. I just stated the facts. And listen, if our listener there, and we're always grateful for any emails we get, or what was that, a tweet or an email or what?
That was a text, actually.
A text, yeah, a text. Thank you, send your text in. Keep them coming. What's the text address?
It's 81089.
Right, there you go. Keep them coming, please. We'll respond to them. But look, and we're grateful to them all. All I want to say in response to that is, I can't be, a happy, clappy, happy-go-lucky chappy talking about a city like Bristol and football because there's nothing to be happy about. Like, nothing. And I feel sorry for the people of Bristol who are walking around being so badly served by the football authorities and giving them dross year after year.
I think Steve gave a very good account of why he was a Bristol City fan. But anyway, let's get back to the original story that you were supposed to be telling me about half an hour ago because you couldn't manage to finish it, about these electronic cigarettes.
Yeah.
Because you've got something to say about them.
So old David had one there. So anyway, I went off and thought I'd better do a bit of research on this to find out what I know about them. And in fact, the great worry now is that e-cigarettes have been so successful in, being a replacement for cigarettes that people look at them, think it's cool to smoke, and then start smoking for real.
Yeah.
Not the other way
there's been
around.
a massive marketing
Not the
campaign.
other way around.
There's a massive marketing campaign for these things. In fact, I did a show some years ago about e-cigarettes because, and we found a guy who was at the beginning of just kind of promoting them, and he sent loads of them to me. Right? And he said, "Will you promise me you'll try them out?" And I said, "Well, I'll try them out." I said, "But to be honest, it's not really something that I could imagine doing." And at that time, there were places where you could go and smoke them because they wouldn't object. You go to restaurants, some airlines actually would let you smoke them, but it's actually not like smoking. What you get is a sort of a strange hit off the thing because it's got nicotine in the filter, and you get the nicotine rush, as it were.
Right.
But what you don't get is the sensation of smoke because there isn't any smoke.
Well, do you want
the
sensation of smoke? Though?
Yeah, I like the sensation of smoke.
Oh, that's part of the smoking
for me it is,
experience, is it?
Not for everyone. I mean, like Bill Clinton, when he smoked his joint, said that he never inhaled.
Yeah.
I know people like my mother who still smokes, which doesn't really inhale.
So,
the smoke.
you find part of the smoking experience being the drawing of smoke into your lungs?
I do.
And does that not happen with an e-cigarette?
No, because all that happens is that there's some vapour that comes out of the end of it, but nothing really comes out of the filter, if you know what I mean.
Now, you see, this is interesting. This is interesting because also, in doing my research, I found out that the damage that cigarettes do to you and your lungs is not anything to do with nicotine.
No,
That's why you can have a nicotine patch.
Yeah.
It's to do with the tar that is generated from setting fire to tobacco leaves. And that tar settles in your lungs.
And that's why I have a filter.
Yeah, filter, that's right. Now, I said to you a few minutes ago that the danger now is that people on these e-cigs or whatever go the other way. However, I have uncovered some research which is quite encouraging. It means, and here, I'll read it to you. In the few years since the products first appeared, this is e-cigs, right, hundreds of thousands of people have used them to give up or cut down. We know, this is a research paper, that e-cigarettes are not proving to be a gateway into tobacco. In the biggest global survey, 0.4% of vapers were non-smokers and not one of them went on to smoke. In the UK, 20% of 15-year-olds, how about this, are regular smokers. They are mostly the ones who try vaping. So even in the young, the technology is a gateway out of smoking, not into it. That's what it says here.
Well, that's what they're saying. But, I mean, I've always said to you that, all of these anti-smoking campaigns are completely and utterly worthless because every time you've got a new generation of 15-year-old kids, they're going to smoke.
Yes.
I mean, just because it's one of those things that you do. And until such time as they make it completely and utterly illegal and you can't actually
Don't you think you should give up smoking, having two young children?
I do. In fact, I probably will at some point because my 9-year-old son has now said to me he would like me to give up smoking. So I said to him that, well, but since you've asked me, I probably will have to do it.
Do you smoke in the proximity of your children?
No.
Do you not worry about going home and smelling, really ghastly smoke on your breath, in your hair, in your overcoat? Why don't you think about that? Doesn't your child think, why does Daddy smell like a bonfire?
No. Well, I sometimes smell like a bonfire because actually I have a bonfire in the garden.
And
that smells much worse than if you smoke, believe me.
Yeah, but Mike, unless you've set fire to the train upon which you've travelled home, there wouldn't be any bonfire impact on you walking in after work, would there?
No, there wouldn't.
And smelling like a bonfire. No. It's due to the cigarettes that you have craftily smoked in between trains.
Well, I don't smoke on a train.
Of course you don't, because you're not allowed to smoke on trains. But you smoke the minute you get off the train at the station.
I usually have one, yeah.
Yeah, of course you do. I mean, here, you can't go a whole hour of a show without nipping outside on the fire escape,
just because I want to get away from you for 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I'm very happy for you to get away.
Which is one of the great things.
Very, very happy without sticking a fag in your mouth and setting fire to it. That record...
Why do you think that you've been in some way ordained to be the sort of the judge of everybody in the world, from Bristol City to my personal habits to how I run my life? I mean, considering where you come from, considering you're a man that's got more heated towel rails than you know what to do with, more televisions than you know what to do with.
What's wrong with having a heated towel rail? Have you got a heated towel rail?
Yeah, I've got several, actually.
OK, well, so I've got several, you've got several, but I'm condemned.
I haven't got several in one room, though.
Well, I'd like to have a lot of hot
towels
in each
around. Bathroom, I have one heated towel rail.
Oh, do you? OK, yeah. OK, well, if you can survive with one heated towel rail, mate, then that's up to you. But, normal civilised people like me need more than one.
Do you?
Yeah.
You see, that's the trouble with you. You just want more than everybody else has got. So you can bum about it. So you can boast about it.
In the shower room, I need an in-shower towel and an out-shower towel, don't I?
Do you?
And I like both of them to be heated, yeah.
Oh, so you have a shower in the towel?
No. When I finish showering, switch off the water, I then reach for my first hot towel and I take off surface water off my torso and hair and body.
That is not an image I'd like to be imagining.
No. And that happens in shower because I keep the shower door shut so that the steam stays in and my body is not subjected to a colder temperature because of the water on it. Then as soon as I've got the water off my torso and hair, then I open the shower door, I get out and I grab the second hot towel off the second hot towel roll.
Your indoor slippers.
I haven't put the indoor slippers on yet, and I wrap that around me, and I am then like in the womb-like situation of feeling, safe and secure with a hot towel.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There'll be a podcast coming out in a few hours' time, of course. Although I would recommend that you stay for the last hour of the Two Mics because Mr. Parry, no doubt, is going to come up with some more gems that you may wish to press into your book of memories. You've got a few tweets you want to read out.
Yeah, I've got a few tweets here, guys. Thank you very much for keeping in touch. Please do keep keeping in touch because we love to hear from you. Now, Steve Bennett's been very active. He says, and this is to myself, yourself, Mike, and to Talk Sport, we'll be happy to take you to a game at Ashton Gate next season to see proper supporters, COY Reds, come on you Reds. And then Steve sends another one saying, Mike, you're a tube, my friend, Bristol City forever. Jack Richards contacts us and says, have you finished mugging my club off yet, Mike Parry? So he's not very happy with me. And then Ben, a guy called Ben, says, Mike, Bristol City have no history whatsoever. They've only been a football club since 1982. I mean, that's not true.
No, that's
I've looked
true.
up the history. I don't know what he means there. Perhaps in 1982 something happened, you know. And then, very nice one here, Mike. It says, the two Mikes, starring Mike Parry and old IRMG, is now a relevant and wonderful show on Talk Sport, and he hashtags it Waterloo. So that must be, he appreciates the historical relevance that I introduce into our shows when I'm with you, Mike, OK? And then Andrew Jones, this is very interesting, Mike. He says, Mike, did you know that mindfulness is a highly effective cognitive behavioural therapy?
Is it?
No, it's not.
Well,
no.
It's not working for you, is it?
No, sorry. He says, mindfulness is highly effective. Cognitive behavioural therapy uses this, OK? And he goes on to say, mindfulness is used by therapists. If you're treated for anxiety, it's used. Mindfulness can be done at any time, in any place. And lastly, Ian Taylor says, lastly of the hundreds that you've sent me, but I've just had to pick these out, thank you. Leicester is becoming the place to be. It's becoming legendary, a bit like you, Porky, says Ian Taylor. Thank you very much indeed. I'm a legend in my own lunchtime, as used to say in Fleet Street.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more here have come in. It's a very good one here, actually. This is from Chris. He says, Mike, this is addressed to you. I am curious, if you were to compare yourself to a football club in terms of success, history, mass appeal, potential, etc., what football club would you be?
It would be Everton, of course, wouldn't it? Well, of course it would. That's what's been.
Well, have you never won anything for ages?
It's been my footballing life.
Oh, OK.
Well,
I don't think you understand the question. I think he's asking, like, remember when we used to do those surveys of the public when we were in newspapers? And you have these focus groups of people.
Yes.
And when I was working for the Daily Mirror, they spent an awful lot of money on trying to find out who
the target reader was.
Not just who the target reader was, but what they saw the newspaper as. Right?
Yes.
Because it was always trying to go up market.
Fish and chip paper, if you were editing it.
Well, yeah, but one of the questions was, if the Daily Mirror was a car, what would it be?
Yes.
And the main answer came back, beaten up old Ford Escort.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And the marketing guys were absolutely distraught.
Yeah.
They were tearing their hair out because they wanted it to be kind of like a new Jag, or they wanted it to be something that was slightly more upmarket.
It can't be. The Mirror... I mean, I heard John McCririck on earlier in the last show with Jason Cundy, and McCririck was having a go at Greg Dyke, saying he was a old-fashioned socialist who good heart and all that kind of stuff. Well, the Mirror's old-fashioned socialism, isn't it?
It kind of is now.
Yeah, and
it did flirt with Blairism for a while.
Yeah, that's right. But it's old-fashioned socialism now, and not that I'm denigrating that. I'm saying that that's what it stands for. You read it every day, you'll see that it's very much on the sort of Ed Miliband agenda, and therefore, surely, old-fashioned socialists wouldn't aspire to have a Jaguar, would they? They would aspire to have a Ford Anglia.
Well, John Prescott had several, didn't he?
Well, he was named two Jags by Richard Littlejohn, wasn't he, for that very reason? But whether he's old-fashioned socialism in the way that Ed Miliband and the Daily Mirror are these, I don't know. But surely the paper these days would it'd have to be a Volkswagen, wouldn't it? Like the People's Car or something like that, wouldn't it?
Maybe. But, I mean, unfortunately, anyway, the answer came back that it was a beaten-up old Ford Escort.
Well, there you go.
Listen to this from Neil, who's on the night shift. He's sent this into 81089. Mr. Parry is very astute, he says. I'm a Sunderland fan that has lived in the West Country for the last 14 years. Rovers and City are truly awful to watch. Maybe they could merge with the rugby team too, as they are just as bad.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go, you see. So
you've got one person supporting you, and another one here who is Derek in Birmingham. He says, you two are like two bad boys, and yes, Bristol is, he describes it as something I can't read out. He says, you try and get around that city with a truck. So I presume, really, in that sense, that it isn't an easy city to drive around.
Well, he's probably a truck driver.
And here's this, David Nottingham, right? Porky has really angered me tonight with his treatment of the Bristol fan.
Oh, yeah?
The Football League is full of teams that don't win trophies every season. Football is not about trophies. It is about supporting your team through thick and thin, not posing with your lovey friends in some VIP area. Oh, he's been quite vitriolic there.
Well, that's
I
nice.
seem to remember Roy Keane referring to your lot as the Prawn Sandwich Brigade, not real fans. Obnoxious oaf and so self-centred, it is unbelievable. Well, I've been saying that for years.
Oh, he's called me an obnoxious oaf.
He is.
When did I ever pose with any fans in a VIP area?
Well, it's not that you pose with them.
And I'm
You've
not
got
a Manchester United fan, so I wasn't.
Thespian friends, haven't you?
I wasn't Prawn Sandwich Brigade. No, I haven't got any thespian friends. It just so happens that some people I know have an elevated position at Everton Football Club because of longevity. I knew them a long time before they did have those elevated positions, and I will know them long time, after Everton's taken over by a billionaire, and we'll become fans again.
Right, now let's talk about lodgers, because you're a man that lives alone. You seem to think that's a good thing. You described to us a rather bizarre kind of ritual that you go through when you have a shower. It sounds like something that Sultan of Brunei would do. I mean, you'd have some sort of Nubian slaves lying around handing you towels. I mean, how many towels do you get through in a week?
Why do you spit it out like an insult? You're someone who lives alone. Like something wrong with living alone.
Well, more people than ever are living alone, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this idea about lodgers, I mean, it just gets me. The idea of having a stranger walking around your house, I mean, I find it so alarming that I would, I'd go and live in a tent or something if I was made to do that. You know what I mean?
Do you remember that guy from the Express that we used to know? He used to do the William Hickey Diary, John McEntee. His wife was very prone to bringing lodgers into the house. And I remember him standing in a bar one night talking to me about the Germans. And he was going on and on about the Germans. I said, what are you talking about? Why do you keep referring to the Germans? He said, well, we've got this German family that live in the house. And you know how some people will rent out, say,
German family?
A secondary kind of property, or maybe a flat inside a house or something like that.
Yeah.
They had a house.
Like the basement area or something.
But they actually, his wife actually, because in order to make a bit of money, they would rent out a room to this family. But they would share all of the facilities, so they would be in the kitchen. They would somehow have dinner together.
I couldn't bear that.
And he never wanted to go home, because he said, "Well, I know what's going to happen if I go home, because I'll have to go and talk to the Germans, because this family of Germans were living there." And he just couldn't understand why she was doing it, but she wouldn't stop.
So was that his excuse for staying in the pub all week?
Yeah, basically.
All night, every night of the week.
It was.
Unbelievable. Well, this report I've got here, it says more people over the age of 50 are inviting lodgers into their homes for two reasons. Firstly, to help with spiralling costs, of heating and all that kind of stuff. But secondly, because we're becoming a more lonely nation than ever before. And in being such a lonely nation, we try and entice people into our homes to share our lives with.
But why would you never actually come to that? Why would you never actually rent out your place?
Why would I rent it out?
Yeah, why would you not? I mean, because you've got two places, right?
Yeah.
Why not share one of them with somebody else, even if it's not, in the biblical sense?
Because when if I said things to them like, whenever you come through the front door, you must take your shoes off. Yeah. Whenever I said to them, if you use the bathroom, you must clean it thoroughly after each time that it's used, right, and all that kind of stuff, they might get irritated and say they didn't want to be there. Now, the fact that I'm taking money off them as a lodger would give them the right to say, well, I'm sorry, but I have bought 50% of the occupation rights of this property, therefore my rules apply to the 50% of it that I use.
Because that's the other thing, that so many younger people now who are now called Generation Rent, they're being referred to in political circles, right, because people are never going to be able to afford to buy a house of their own. A lot of people, I've known people like this, where a lot of people that work here are in this situation. They have to share, they have to buy a place and then share it with complete strangers.
To pay the mortgage?
Well, no, but they all actually go in and do a mortgage together.
Right.
So kind of 3 or 4 different people
I tell you,
will
I'd
take
never
a piece
do
of
that.
the mortgage.
That's like going into business with somebody. You're absolutely tied then to them for life. Here, I'll read you a bit of this report here. The number of middle-aged homeowners advertising rooms has increased by 40% over the last 2 years. Rental website spareroom.co.uk said 32,000 people aged 50 and over took in a lodger in 2011, with the numbers jumping to nearly 45,000 last year. These live-in landlords make an average of £466 a month in rent, which can double the income of their state pension. I mean, look, if you're a pensioner... And
people are being forced into it, in other words.
Well, it looks like they're being forced into it, which is terrible, really. I would rather sort of, flog my place and downgrade to a one-bedroom flat so there's no room for a lodger, rather than live in a two-bedroom place.
You'd have to get rid of some of your towels, there wouldn't be enough room for them.
That's just a trite comment, isn't it?
It's not trite,
just
no.
A trite
because
comment.
One of the things that happens when you downsize...
Just a trite
is
comment.
that you've got too much... if you've got a lot of...
Say,
for example, you move from one place to another and you've got a lot of cupboards. Yeah. The new place doesn't have any cupboards. You have to get rid of a load of stuff.
Trouble with lodgers is this, Mike, that when you interview a lodger to come and share your house, you think, I'll get on with this person all right. After about 3 weeks, the true colours of the lodger comes out, and they're usually either filthy dirty or they're, they've got dreadful friends that they bring home and create trouble, or they don't contribute to the well-running of the place. I mean, look, the only safe way to be able to control your own environment in your own house is not to have a lodger. And people who have lodgers, I feel sorry for them if they need to do it because of financial reasons. It takes away all your independence and you're beholden to somebody else because you're taking money off them. But basically, anybody does it because they think it's good to have a friend in the house must be so lonely as to be like, what's the word I'm looking for? Well,
desperate.
You're desperate and in need of sort of help from a counsellor to counter their loneliness, because countering your loneliness is not... The answer is not to go out and find lodgers who, you know you're not going to get on with, because two people who are strangers can't possibly agree on one single thing, let alone everything.
No, well, we can't agree on anything either. Unfortunately, I won't ever have to be in a situation
well, I mean,
where
would you have lodgers? Would you have lodgers?
No, absolutely not.
Well, of course you wouldn't, you see.
But my house is already full. I've got no room for anybody.
No,
so that's,
but the story about John McEntee is a good story, except that John was a very highly paid Fleet Street columnist. So why his wife had to bring in families of Germans to live in their house for, perhaps she didn't like him. Perhaps she didn't like her husband and decided she wanted a bit of...
that might be the reason.
A bit of German company. What's it called, Germans? Teutonics, yeah, Teutonic.
You can call them that if you wish. I wouldn't call them that. He is Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We've got loads more coming up next on TalkSport.
Won't be easy for Manchester City coming to Goodison Park. Know where I'm going with this.
Oh, I know where Ross Barkley's going with that one. He's going to send a worldie in from 30 yards. And it was dropping, it was in.
Stoke City 3, Chelsea 2. An absolute screamer for Osama Saidi.
The shot coming in, and it's a brilliant goal. Absolutely stunning goal that has gone in from Hatton Ben Arfa. Tompkins beaten off the ball by Rooney.
Rooney!
From halfway. He's seen Adrian off his line. Tompkins was brushed off the ball by Wayne Rooney, and he turned and volleyed it straight over the top of the Spanish goalkeeper.
Unbelievable goal. Swansea 2, Aston Villa 1, and John Joe Shelby scored from just inside the centre circle.
Arsenal 1, Norwich 0. It was a stunning attack from Arsenal. Started by Jack Wilshere. He got the ball out to Santi Cazorla. Cazorla back into Giroud. Exchanged passes with Wilshere, who kept his run going, ran onto the ball, and Wilshere was there just to tap in, really.
Toure stepped up, right-footed, curled round the wall. It was unstoppable.
Here's Delph, he goes past Matic, he runs into the Chelsea half, he slips it left, Brighton is there, pulls it back across the face of goal, a flick round the corner by Fabian Delph with a sensational finish to put Villa in front. Comes back to Barini, who Sunderland's prayers are finally answered. Tveteki takes it on his chest, overhead kick, and back to Januzaj. Oh, what a volley! This boy's having a brilliant Premier League debut. Gets onto his right foot, shoots towards the far corner. Oh, Sterling's rising all right. But the currency that Liverpool traded in all season have been goals.
Alexander Tettey, his first Premier League goal for Norwich. I reckon that is going to be a contender for goal of the season. What a strike.
Showdown Sunday afternoon from 1 on TalkSport.
It is going to be Showdown Sunday coming up from 1 o'clock. It is the final weekend of the Premier League season. But, Mike, you'd have to say that it's not going to be quite as exciting as we hoped it might be, because it looks as though Manchester City basically have got it all in the bag, doesn't it?
Well, you'd think so. I mean, they need 1 point, don't they? So they can afford to even draw against West Ham.
Yeah.
Most people think they will obliterate West Ham because the sense of... jubilation will be at the start of the game, not the end.
Yeah.
In the sense that they're going into the final game of the season, they just have to not lose it, and they've got the Premier League title. So I suppose so. I heard somebody saying earlier that the only other battle in the Premier League table is for 5th place, but that's all over. I'm afraid Everton have won that on
No, the battle is
goal
actually
difference.
for 6th place now, because Manchester United technically could still get 6th if they win.
In place of Spurs.
But neither one of them, I suspect, particularly want to be in the Europa League. But if Spurs lose...
You don't get in the Europa League in 6th place, do you?
Yeah, I think you do.
I think it's just. I thought it was just 5th place.
Well, it depends how the FA Cup thing works.
Yeah,
out,
that's right. What everybody else wins.
But Spurs, I would expect to be in the Europa League, because I can't really see them necessarily losing at home to Aston Villa. But you never know. But the other thing with West Ham,
but Villa have had some very surprising results this season. They beat Arsenal at home on day one, didn't they?
Yeah, they have, because 6 definitely gets because City won the League Cup. Of course, 7th is the one that probably may not happen.
That's right.
But if Man United get a win at the weekend against Southampton away, which might not happen either, they'll get a Europa League place. But I just want to mention this to you as well, because I think it's the first time this has happened, and so I must be feeling in a generous mood. You got 5 out of 10 on your prediction.
Well, there you go.
There you go. What do you mean? There you go.
Well, I knew. I just knew that you'd been gerrymandering and fiddling the results, because I don't keep record of them. Now you're coming clean because that eventually I was going to demand a recall on this week's results, because you keep telling me that I'm getting them wrong. Well, I know I'm getting them right.
No, because normally you get 3 out of 10, but I'm saying you got 5 out of 10, and I was going to offer you how many I got, but now I'm not going to bother because you're being so.
I'd like you to tell me, please. I'd like you to tell me.
I got 4.
And that's why you weren't going to tell me.
So for the first time... Well, no, I was going to tell you, but you're being such an absolute prig about it that I thought I wouldn't. But the point is
what did you say I was being about
prig.
A
prig, P-R-I-G. It's a word for somebody who is rather pompous and ridiculously stupid. But here's the point. You have won for the first time this weekend. That's why I thought I would mention it. Now, as we heard that collection of goals of the season, the package that was put together there, you might have noticed that Ross Barkley's goal was in there, the one he scored against Manchester City.
I should imagine.
Fantastic goal,
yeah,
right?
Of course it was.
Now, you said a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, that with the World Cup squad being picked on Monday, if Ross Barkley's not going, you might actually boycott the whole World Cup.
Yeah.
I assume you didn't really mean that.
No, I didn't actually, because of course you're not going to boycott the world's biggest sporting competition, and in the business we work in, it's required viewing.
Of course.
Just because we like watching it.
On one of your many television sets.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, on the old dual TV set. But
have you seen any signs in the last couple of days that maybe he's going to make the squad?
Well, what I don't quite understand is this, and I think I did explain this to you earlier in the week, or maybe I explained it to David, but Martin Lipton and I, Martin Lipton's chief sports writer of the Mirror, engaged in a series of tweets in which Martin sort of indicated to me he didn't think Ross Barkley was going to be in the squad. Now, he has access to more people in football than I do, so I'm prepared to bow to his superior information, up-to-date information, except that, who says you can't change your mind? And if he'd heard that Roy Hodgson wasn't going to include him, say, 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, Roy Hodgson was at the Everton game where Ross Barkley scored that magnificent goal. He was also at Southampton the week before, because I was sitting 2 seats away from him in the director's box, right, when Ross had a great first half, but then for some reason didn't come out for the second half. He was substituted at half-time, but nevertheless he had a good 45 minutes. So I can't believe he can be exited or excluded from the squad. The other more interesting Everton player who might get in now is John Stones, because some of the papers which we've been looking at
to Phil Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Phil Jones might be knackered now, not be able to get into the squad. And a couple of the papers this morning, this is Friday morning's papers, are saying could be old John Stones who steps in place of Phil Jones.
But, I mean, I've been listening to some people, John Stones, who say, well, maybe he's a bit too young for that.
Well, I think he's a bit too young for that, to be honest. I remember what happened to Theo Walcott when he went as a 17-year-old, I think, to Germany, Alemannia.
2006.
Alemannia, 2006, that's right. And, because Theo was such a well-balanced boy and brought up so well, he was able to get over it. He was able to deal with the huge expectation placed on his shoulders. But, I'm not sure everybody's as mature as Theo. I'm not suggesting that John Stones is immature, but going off to Brazil in a World Cup, in a home of football, many people would say, that's a massive thing for a 19-year-old.
Also, particularly because it's so close now. I mean, we're just over a month away, and this is the first I've heard of his name being mentioned. It's not as if, he's had a few weeks or months to prepare for the fact that he might get a call-up.
I think it's been buzzing around for about a week or 10 days now. People saying... In fact, Gary Lineker, funny enough, Gary Lineker gave him an endorsement today. Yeah. And I don't know where that came from, because I saw it in one headline, and I thought, that must have been an all-rounder yesterday. If they want benefit of our listeners, an all-rounder is, i.e., him...
Everybody
tell you
gets the story.
It was the BBC launch of their team for the World Cup.
Oh, yes.
Robbie Savage and Gary Lineker and all that. But he must have spoken to somebody on a one-off after the general sort of, announcement, because in one paper I saw the headline saying that I think John Stones should go. So an endorsement from Gary Lineker is praise indeed.
Worth its weight in gold,
Of course it is, yeah.
Now, as far as the weekend is concerned...
I wonder what you'd weigh if we had to weigh you in gold. I mean, your bulk, with the greatest respect.
I would imagine you and I actually would weigh probably about the same, even though you're several inches shorter than me.
I know exactly what I weigh.
What do you weigh?
I have to watch my weight every day. I weigh 85 kilos.
How many stone is that?
That's about, you divide it by 6, so that's 6 into 8 goes 125, about 14 stone.
Well, 1 kilo is 2.2 pounds, isn't it? So you could do it that way. Yeah. Multiply by 2.2.
We'll do that then.
Well, I can't do 2.2 against 85 in my head, but it sounds like around about 200 pounds. Sounds about 200 pounds.
I can. And how much is 200 pounds?
Well, 210 pounds is 15 stone, I think, isn't it?
So I said 14 stone.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely right.
It's about 14 stone. Yeah.
Now,
well,
85, 2.2. 2 85s is 170. And 1.5 of 85 is 5 into goes 1 is 17. So it's £197.
Yeah. That's why I said it's about £200.
Yeah, but you didn't get it right. It's 197.
Well, I said it's about £200. I got it
and
about 10
then if you divide
14,
it's £14 into 1 stone into that. 14 and 19 is 1, with 5 left over is 57. And then 3 tens is 30, 42. 4 tens, hang on.
I said it was about 14 stone.
56, it's 14 stone. It's exactly 14 stone.
I did all that about 5 minutes ago.
No, I said it instantly, though. I said it instantly.
I did. I said completely deluded.
I did it instantly.
Well, anyway,
I said divide by 6.
So we're about the same, in other words.
Well, you don't weigh 14 stone. Rubbish. Utter nonsense.
It's not rubbish.
That is utter tosh.
And I'm about 4 inches taller than you.
You don't weigh 14 stone.
Technically makes you fatter than me. So
you don't weigh 14 stone, mate. That's absolutely impossible. I don't wish to be unkind and rude and, unhelpful to you with your, the body image that you try to give to our listeners. But fortunately, they can't see you.
Well, no, they can, because there's lots of pictures of me available. And do you know what your preferred weight should be for a man of your diminished height?
14 stone.
No, it shouldn't.
It is.
You should be about 11.
Oh, rubbish. Utter nonsense.
How tall are you?
5'9".
All right, well, even go with 5'9", and we'll come up with.
What are you laughing at?
Well, 5'9" with your Cuban heels on, maybe.
I haven't got any Cuban heels. I don't have to self-promote myself.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll come up. Well, we've got to go again. We've got to go again because we're getting very close to some more news.
On with all this rubbish.
And we're going to talk to LaDonna Harvey very shortly about Monica Lewinsky and the double standard of scandal in America. But we'll also find out what your correct weight should be for someone of 5'9". We are the Two Mikes. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We are, of course, the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out in a few hours' time. One story that has been absolutely all over the newspapers and the TV this week has been the Monica Lewinsky affair, which has raised its ugly head again, I should say. And I don't mean that in an unkind way to her. Sure. But we're going to talk to LaDonna Harvey, a good friend of the station here, a former regular of this show, actually. But we haven't spoken to her for a long time. LaDonna, a very good morning to you.
Well, and good morning to you.
Welcome to London from San Diego. Now, as I said, I didn't mean when I said raised her ugly head, I didn't mean that in any kind of pejorative way, obviously. But Monica's back in the news. She's written a first-person piece for Vanity Fair.
Yeah, what's strange is a lot of people are acting like this is the first time that she's spoken about this, and she actually cooperated with, I believe, wasn't it Andrew Morton?
She did indeed.
British journalist on her book, and then she came out after Bill Clinton had written his book and said, he's lying. So it's not the first time that we've heard from her, but it seems like this is something she's had to live with for a long time.
Well, she'll always be remembered as the most famous intern of all time, won't she? In terms of what happened back then, but it does seem kind of like ancient history, doesn't it?
Yeah, certainly for us now, but I think that this is a woman who, she's almost 40. How old do you feel right now? Because, boy, I feel ancient.
Yeah, not as old as Mike Parry, I have to say.
That's a bit harsh. LaDonna, it's an absolute delight to talk to you, and as an American, I'm going to praise you to high heavens, right, for producing one of the women who I think is the best in the world, and that's Beyoncé. Because I think this woman, Beyoncé, is an absolute golden example to young ladies today in how to behave, how to live their lives, how to have relationships with a man you love.
Have you seen her stage act?
Hang on, but that's with her husband. Her husband is Jay-Z, so if she gets raunchy with Jay-Z.
Jay-Z?
Yeah, that's okay. And what I'm saying
music's not really his big thing, LaDonna.
What I'm saying is, just shut up for a minute, will you? Let me talk to LaDonna.
Jay-Z, by the way. Jay-Z's name.
Well, we say Jay-Z in this country. It's Jay-Z in America. And what I'm saying is, LaDonna, is that when you see people like Miley Cyrus, twerking around with her tongue out and using disgusting language to young girls in the audience, and then you see Beyoncé, who often talks about Jesus and how he's, influenced her life, about what God is trying to prepare her for, the benefits of marriage, to girls in the audience who are single and got their boyfriends there. Show them your hand, put a ring on it,
get married. You're going to let LaDonna get a word in?
Well, I'm just saying, LaDonna, I'm praising you to high heavens because we've had people like Madonna and Miley Cyrus and all that, but this lady Beyoncé, she is a wonderful export from America.
Well, she certainly seems to be, and she thinks very highly of Monica Lewinsky as well. It's enough to put her in a song called Partition.
Yeah?
So, there's something about Monica Lewinsky all over her gown. I'm not really sure what they're referencing.
I can't remember what that was about.
No, exactly. Yeah,
does the gown still exist? Is it still somewhere? Because I mean, there was a lot of talk about that being kept by her friend, wasn't it? Before it was kind of provided as evidence. Where is it now?
You know what? I wonder if it's not in an evidence locker somewhere. If I was Monica Lewinsky, I'd burn that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, not that I want to get off the subject of Beyonce and Miley Cyrus, but we were, Mike, supposed to be talking about Monica Lewinsky and the whole point about...
You just said it's old hat. You and LaDonna agreed that the Monica Lewinsky story goes back so far now. Why are people still talking about it?
Well, that's why we're still talking about it, because that's the fascinating thing. I mean, Bill Clinton's now got his foundation. Hillary is now talking about what her guilty pleasures are. I saw that clip on Twitter the other day.
Before she becomes president.
Yeah, well, is she going to run for president, LaDonna?
Yeah, we think so.
Really?
You know, she was going to run. She ran and lost the nomination to Barack Obama. So I think she figures that it's still her turn.
Right.
So I think Monica's kind of made a preemptive strike here, hoping that she's not going to get dragged through the mud again. And you know, looking at it, because there was a lot of there was a lot of speculation as to, you know, how this 21-year-old somehow wrangled Bill Clinton into an affair. And frankly, I think that you do that by simply looking at him.
Yes,
and I
being
don't
in the same room.
Having breasts, I think, is a great way to start an affair with Bill Clinton.
Well, she wasn't exactly a wilting flower. I remember working in Washington around that period, and one of her friends said, couldn't quite understand what she meant when she said, right, I'm off to work now and I've got my presidential knee pads. I mean, she wasn't exactly a wilting flower, was she?
No, she absolutely wasn't. But by the same token, she's the only one who's had to pay consistently for almost 20 years for, you know, frankly, something that a lot of women have actually done. Not to Bill Clinton, but, you know, perhaps to other people.
Yes.
So, you know, her name
and
is
certainly some other people in Washington, no doubt, as well. But, I mean, with this Vanity Fair piece, I mean, is she saying that she's able now to I mean, she talked about the serious side of it, how she felt suicidal and all that kind of stuff, but is she now kind of someone that could ever do anything other than be Monica Lewinsky, the girl that had the affair with President Clinton? Because it seems like not enough time has gone by for people to forget that yet.
You know, I think that's what she's actually trying to do. You know, she talks about how she's gone on job interviews and people are telling her, well, we don't think you're quite right for the job.
Right.
And I think it's because of the notoriety of her name. And I think at this point she's thinking, have I paid enough? I've spent 20 years being made fun of. My name is a euphemism for oral sex. Do you think that maybe I can move forward with my life now and get a job? And I think it's interesting that feminists haven't come out and said, you know what, let's give her a break.
Yeah, because feminists are very confused at the moment for all sorts of reasons. But so, I mean, does she have any money? Does she have any money? I mean, can she exist without a job?
You know, her father was a famous surgeon, as I recall, and I'm just going by memory from when this happened so very, very long ago. And I've had a glass of wine since then, so I can't be sure. But I think that she comes from family money.
Right.
I don't know if it's enough to sustain her for the rest of her life. You know, I don't know. Did they leave it all to her, or are they still alive? I have no idea. But I'm sure she'd like to have a job at some point.
Maybe Porky Parry could find something for her to do on this side of the Atlantic.
Well, I mean, a ridiculous supposition, honestly. Absolutely ridiculous. LaDonna, it's been lovely to talk to you again. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry that you've had to put up with the nonsensical, you know, brain-dead ramblings of old
He's actually forgotten my name.
LaDonna,
pleasure as ever. Thank you very much. LaDonna Harvey there from San Diego with the latest on Monica Lewinsky. And I don't know why you started butting with all that Beyonce nonsense, but
it's relevant. It's relevant.
It's time for you to look at the light again.
She's a complete opposite.
To look at the light.
A complete opposite of Monica Lewinsky. Beyonce has touched so many young women's better part, if you see what I mean.
I don't
mean that. I don't
know what you're talking about. I think you should stop now.
No.
Stare into the light.
No, I mean she's brought out the best in young women.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. He's Mike Parry. He's losing the plot. I'm Mike Graham. I'm not. We're back after this. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. Together we are the two Mikes. Now, Mike, you'll be tootling off in your smoking Mercedes very shortly.
Certainly will be.
And you'll be coming up against a few red lights, no doubt, on your way home. You'll be very interested in the story that I've just spotted on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, which is headlined, "Traffic lights to stay red for longer." Now, we've known in the past, right, that certain, shall we say, political influences have come to bear on these things, and certain sort of mayors of certain cities, including London, have admitted in the past that they've actually changed the sequence of traffic lights to make it more difficult for people to drive through the city and to kind of put them off. Now they're going to make them red for even longer. It's going to take even longer to get home.
What's the reason for it this time?
Well, they say one of the reasons is that they don't stay red for long enough for certain older people to be able to walk across the road.
You can't build the world around older people.
You can't.
I'm sorry.
Even if you're one of them.
And by the way, the reason in the past that they've been made to stay on red longer is because when these crazy guys, these crazy mayors get into power and they're power mad, they want to raise billions of pounds literally to spend on pet projects, like, for instance, bus lanes,
Or bikes.
Bike lanes, bus lanes, anything to completely wreck the transport system in a vibrant city and damage the economy irreparably. So what they do is they bring in this thing called a congestion charge, where you've got to pay to drive in city centres. And the reason...
Which hasn't actually stopped the congestion at all.
No, it's not had any effect whatsoever. Yeah. But what they do is they put the red lights on red for longer so that they can then get their traffic commissioners to report back that the traffic moves at only 4.2 miles an hour. Well, if the traffic lights are on red for 90% of the time, then of course the traffic only moves at 4.2 miles an hour. It's an absolute contract. Yeah. Now, the idea now that we're going to slow the world down to the speed of pensioners is so ludicrous, I can't believe it. Why don't we slow it down to the same speed as the horse and cart and go back, 200 years and completely decimate and wreck the economy?
Well, it takes us all back to the Flat Earth Society people I was talking about in the first hour of the show. There are people who would like to make London completely pedestrianised. They would actually like to see cars completely and utterly taken out of the equation.
Unbelievable. I mean, look, pensioners are going to have to speed up and get across the road faster.
Well, how do you mean speed up?
Well, they're just going to have to do something to get them across. Why don't they have travelator-type zebra crossings, like they have in airports to get people up and down long corridors?
Oh, what, you mean like a flat escalator?
Yeah, something like that to get them across. Because
that would cost a fortune, wouldn't it?
It probably would. But, I mean...
So you just stand on it would take you across?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, they'd have to go really slowly, though, wouldn't they? Otherwise people would fall off they'd fall off the other end.
But the idea, you slow down... Look, I'm very sympathetic to old people. My
mother... sound like it.
My mother is in her 80s. She fell over, very, very sadly fell over last year and broke her hip, and that's been a real ordeal for her.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And well, absolutely, of course you are. I know you are, because you've got an older mother as well, and elderly mother, I should say. And of course, you must be very careful of old people. My mum also, prior to that, by the way, came out of a shop, crossed the road, and just fell over. And it was later found out that what had happened is the council had remade the road, but had allowed buses to go on the road before the tarmac had set, and that had caused a dip in the road, which you couldn't see by the naked eye.
Sometimes it's kind of it's ridged. Or
that's right. That's right. And she tripped on it.
Tripped over it.
And she had all these lawyers chasing her, ambulance chasers, saying, "Come on, we're going to sue." And she wouldn't sue because she's not that sort of woman. But she did have
somebody else will, I'm sure.
Well, no, she had an agreement with them. She said, "I won't sue the council if the council will repair the road, so other old people don't fall over." And the council did repair the road. This is in Bournemouth. But the point I'm making is, I'm very sympathetic to old people, but you can't run the world at the pace of old people. If you did, you'd have to have things like, buses that only went at 5 miles an hour. You just can't do that. Now, traffic lights get my goat, Mike. They really get my goat. And I'll tell you why. There are so many traffic lights in the world now that you can't go 100 to 200 yards and move out of second gear in a car. You just can't do it. But the ones that really bug me are the Pelican crossings. Because these Pelican crossings are so ridiculous. You know what people do?
These are the ones that just flash orange at you, right?
And you have to stop.
Yeah.
Well,
even if there's nobody there. You don't stop if there's nobody there.
You do. They go red.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't just flash orange. They flash orange when you're allowed to move again.
Right.
But they immediately, when you press that button, they go to red to stop the traffic. Now, I've got two arguments here. Firstly, I've stopped at so many where there's nobody crossing the road, because what these idiots do is they press the button, then they realise actually there's no traffic on the road, so they walk across the road, and then 15 seconds later, when they've gone, the light activates into stop, and you have to stop because it's a red light. They're ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous.
All of this stuff is being done
complete waste of time.
Sure.
I think we should cut down on traffic lights by about 90% of what they are now. Most people are able to judge crossing a road with their own common sense without the need to stop traffic every time they do it.
Well, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true in the centre of London.
Well, I would.
In the centre of a busy place.
would.
Well, all right, you've made your point. But, let's a few other people, for example, me, have their say. I don't have a problem with traffic lights and zebra crossings and pedestrian.
I do, because it stops traffic so often.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, if it's done reasonably, is what I was about to say.
No, they don't do it reasonably.
And the point is, they don't do that because when I come from no more than 2 miles away, which I can drive myself in around about 10 minutes, right? Yeah. Because I kind of know different ways to come to avoid the lights. If I come in a cab and he's not doing it the way I know you should do it, you basically hit a traffic light, I would say, about at one point every 120 yards.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
And it's always red.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's utterly ludicrous. And the point is, if you put up a Pelican crossing on a road, people are automatically going to use it. So get rid of the Pelican crossing, then people use their common sense. There are roads where there is not high volumes of traffic that have got Pelican crossings, and I don't know why. Well, I have no idea why.
I don't have such a problem with those because, I mean, there's a lot of kids. There's a lot of kids who need to cross the road, and it's better for them to cross.
Yeah, but they have lollipop men and women.
They don't. Only
yes,
during
they do.
school hours.
Well,
they don't. Yeah, Only during school hours. Well, children go outside of school hours, during the holidays.
Yeah, and they go out with their parents because any responsible parent has a child with them.
Some children, unfortunately, I have to tell you, go out on their own.
Well, that should be banned. They shouldn't be allowed to do that.
What age should children be allowed to go out then, do you think, on their own?
On their own?
Yeah.
13.
13. Okay. And
what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that's probably about right, actually, because I wouldn't let my kids go out on their own.
Exactly.
But I know people who are parents of children at their school who let their children maybe walk down to the shops, or maybe if it's not very far.
In this day and age, you can't do that now.
Well, in this day and age, depending on where you live, some people like to do it. But I think it's wrong to marginalise pedestrians and say, you're just going to have to run across the road and hope for the best.
I don't.
Well,
because particularly in city centres, traffic moves so slowly that even if you did collide with a vehicle,
but there's bikes.
You wouldn't get badly injured anyway.
Well, it's not the subject of
bikes.
Yeah,
but the bikes are a law unto themselves. I was coming in tonight, Mike, and I'm not joking. I stopped at a set of lights just down in Kennington, right? And they're red, and you stop. This cyclist came bombing through on the inside, took absolutely no notice of the red light, and a black cab taxi who turned from the junction coming towards me had to brake very violently to stop this bike from running into the side of him. I mean, they are outrageous.
That's what
cyclists.
I mean. So, I mean, aside from just the cyclist menace of how they avoid the red lights and they don't really stop whenever anybody's doing anything, you can't just expect people to... I mean, I'm quite capable of running across a road or weaving between traffic.
No, you're not, actually.
I am.
I've never seen you run.
I'm very good. Well,
I haven't seen you run for years.
You haven't seen me do a lot of things.
I haven't seen you run for years, Mike. Yeah. So you walk. I'm not joking. You amble. You don't walk. You amble. You have this sort of dignified air about you. Your long overcoat on. No, I'm not saying you're dignified. I'm saying you're trying to appear dignified.
No, I don't need to try.
And you amble around like, there's no urgency in the world. Why don't we all just amble around and take life slowly and... Oh, look, there's a wine bar. We'll cross the road. That's your attitude to life.
Yeah, well, what's wrong with that?
Well, it's too relaxed, and it's no wonder that you haven't really got on in life because you have that sort of attitude.
I've got on fine in life, thank you very much indeed. Normally I find I have to step over you because you've got into the wine bar slightly faster than me, and you've already had 3 bottles by the time I've arrived.
That's a bit harsh.
That's another story. If you're not careful, I'll tell the story of this other practice that you may have been looking at, which is about the head exploding practice.
Well, that's not my fault.
Now, you've got a piece that you were telling me about, which says that maybe when you get so worked up about stuff like this, which is what I was saying to you before,
you can get it.
That you're kind of hyperactive.
No, you can get it.
You can have head exploding syndrome.
I have to occasionally visit the doctor's surgery, to get prescriptions done for the tablets for my ticker.
Do they not just renew them, or do you go and pick them up at the chemist?
Yeah, but you have to take your prescription
you just do it on the phone.
No, you can't. No, you've got to take it in. No, it's a physical prescription which you have to take in and
no, but if it's a regular one, you should just get the doctors to ring the pharmacy, no?
No, not at all. No, you've got to take it in personally because, fraud is a big thing with drugs and all that, so you've got to present yourself in person. But anyway...
Well, you are a bit of a fraud, but I suppose they give you them anyway.
No. Anyway, I'm not in love with that. I'm not laughing at that.
I thought that was quite good.
I came across this syndrome doctors have warned about. It's called exploding head syndrome. Now, you might think that's funny. You might think the idea of people's heads blowing up is
sound kind of vaguely amusing.
Well, but it's nothing to do with that. What it is it's a medical disorder, and it's becoming surprisingly
But your
common.
head doesn't actually explode.
No, but you feel like your head's exploding. You
Really?
put your head down on the pillow at night sometimes. You've got so many thoughts in your head. All of a sudden, you get... Here, I'll tell you what happens. First of all, you get a noise, and it can vary from explosions, like fireworks going off, to a door slamming in your head, to the sound of a gun being fired down your ear, to shouting or thunder.
So is it something to do with your ears, then?
Well, it's something to do with, I don't know, they're researching it now. Or it could be a crack of lightning. The noises start suddenly, last for a few seconds. Now, before hearing a loud noise, 1 in 10 people who've got this condition have a visual disturbance, like seeing lightning flashes. It's similar to the auras some people get before migraine. And the migraine visual symptoms are brief, but then the exploding noises in your head are so terrible, it terrifies you, and you really honestly do think that the top of your head is coming off. And it's apparently it's becoming more and more common.
And is it stress-related or something?
Well, it's known as a modern-day disease, so we don't really know why it's happening now. Perhaps it's a pace of life or something like that, but it is actually officially called...
Well, do you think life is now noisier than it used to be?
Exploding head syndrome. You talk about noise. I'll tell you about noise, man. Right, near me, they're knocking down a car park. The council sold a car park for it to be redeveloped, the site as a tower block of retail and flats and all that kind of outrageous, considering that you want people to come into like the towns in Surrey.
Because you can't park in the street, can you?
Exactly, you can't park in the street anymore. That's punitive. So they knocked down a whole car park, right? But it's only happening about 100 yards from where I live. And all day long, all I can hear are the demolition crane balls, ball cranes, what are they called?
Demolition balls.
Demolition balls, that's right. Wrecking balls, that's what it's called. And smashing this building to pieces. And I mean, I'm not so bad. I'm on the far side of my block of penthouse flats.
You always wrap a couple of towels around your head.
I suppose good. But the people nearer are saying that it goes on all day, and it is very annoying. Now, maybe that gives you exploding head syndrome. I don't know, because it drives you mad. But it is, although it's got a funny name, some people find it funny. I'd say it's something you've got to watch out for. I really, really do. Watch out for the exploding head syndrome, kids. And if you get it, get along to your doctor quick.
You don't want to be standing next to anybody that might have it either. But,
no.
Mike Porky Parry, there is massive sport coming up this weekend, of course. We didn't get a chance to do all the predictions, but I'll do a couple for you. Is there any chance at all, do you think, that West Ham can get anything out of Manchester City?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. And what about Manchester United moving up into 6th place above Tottenham?
Who've they got to beat to do that?
Manchester United playing Southampton away. Tottenham playing Villa at home.
No, a bit tough one. I think United are less likely to get a result than Tottenham.
OK. Well, we'll pick this up again on Monday. Yeah. Mike Porky Parry will be back, of course. He'll be keeping an eye on things over the weekend. You can follow us both on Twitter, at IROMG, at Mike Parry 8. And we'll be sending
what's your address?
I'll be sending it. I've just done it. I'll be sending out the Easter egg that you brought me finally, which was better late than never.
Yeah, but what's your address
on? At IROMG, I told you.
Oh, did you just say that?
I just said it.
Oh, and what about mine?
I've just told it.
Mike Parry 8.
I just said it.
I'm Mickey Quinn, and that was the Two Mikes on TalkSport.